Welcome to We Have Ways of Making You Talk with me, Murray and James Holland, your Second World War podcast of choice. Thanks for joining us. Now, we're looking at a part of the war that we've not actually talked about at all on the podcast. In 7 years of war waffle, we haven't gone anywhere near this.
No, it is the Battle of Norway. But it's the naval battle. We're not doing land. We'll do that another time.
It's too depressing.
It's too depressing. You know how I feel about depressing British failures. So I'm not doing it.
So we're basically just going to ignore
Cherry-pick the best bits.
Fair enough. I completely understand. I can barely keep it together when things are going wobbly, Jim. This is one of the great naval encounters of the Second World War, isn't it?
It is, and consequential.
And defining.
Yes.
For those who've listened to recent podcasts where we've talked about the Battle of the Atlantic in 1940, 41, 42, and then the hunt for the Bismarck, and then the Channel Dash. Actually, this is the battle that sets the scene for all of those events.
Yep.
And certainly in terms of, well, let's be blunt, the Royal Navy's dominance.
But also lessons learned for the Royal.
Well, exactly, in that theatre. Let's look at...
Well, we're going to kick off with what's called in journalistic terms a drop colour intro.
Okay.
Straight into the action, and then we'll recap.
Don't show your workings. Go on. A bit postmodern for us, that.
Well, so the German invasion of Scandinavia, of Denmark and Norway is known as Operation Weserübung. And it launched in the early hours of the 9th of April 1940, just as the Royal Navy is heading to the Leads to begin their planned mining operations. So the Leads are these network of channels that run down the edge of Norway. So you have the North Sea, then you have little outlying islands, then you have the little kind of channels, then you have the fjords going in. And the leads that they're particularly interested in are the ones around the Vestfjord, north of Bodo, between the North Sea and the entrance to the Oslofjord, which is the narrow inlet that leads to the iron ore port of Narvik.
Because what this is about is iron ore.
All about supplies.
It's all about supplies. And that's what's being fought for here.
Yes.
The British aren't...
At Narvik, yeah.
Yeah, at Narvik. The British aren't doing this out of the kindness of their heart on this occasion.
No.
Because Denmark's been invaded and occupied pretty much in pretty short order. At the same time as German troops are steaming up the Oslofjord into the south of Norway towards the capital, and you've got Fallschirmjäger being dropped in to capture key positions with extremely mixed results. Yep. Meanwhile, there's another invasion force is sent to the North Seaport of Trondheim, while you have 2,000 Gebirgsjäger, who are mountain troops, exactly, with their little Edelweiss, landed at Narvik, deep in the Oslofjord. Now, you've just been to
Oslofjord.
Okay. I'm going to defer to you.
Oslofjord.
For all the pronunciation.
Oslofjord.
The Oslofjord.
Yeah.
And there's, with them, 10 German destroyers. Count them, 10.
Yep. Half.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. And a handful of supply ships. This is half, as you say, of the Kriegsmarine's entire destroyer capability.
Compared to the 184 that the Royal Navy has.
Okay. But are we looking at a fair fight here?
Wow. 184 aren't all in Narvik, are
no,
they?
Of course not, no. Meanwhile, the second destroyer flotilla, which is as we've learned, led by Captain Bernard Warburton-Lee, they're approaching the Leads as part of this mining operation, and they're supporting. There's some heavy metal is showing up. Admiral William Whitworth's large battle cruisers, the Renown and the Repulse, as well as destroyers. Already the Royal Navy sounds like it's arriving mob-handed. Let's put it that way. As well as destroyers of the 20th Destroyer Flotilla. And the thing is these parts are all moving really, really quickly, aren't they? And the Admiralty's discovering things as a kind of real-time response happening at once, but by both sides, actually. They're both reacting to each other.
The 9th of April is a day of confusion for the Royal Navy, which we will get into in some depth later on in this series. But suffice to say that on the afternoon of the 9th of April, it is reported to the Admiralty back in London that a single German warship has entered the Oslofjord. And so Captain Bernard Warburton-Lee, the commander of the second flotilla, has been ordered to head to Narvik and ensure that no German troops land there. And his orders come directly from the Admiralty rather than from Admiral Whitworth, who is his immediate superior and commander
Right.
in this scene. And that intelligence turns out to have been seriously underestimating the reality, because it's pretty obvious to them it's already too late. And Commodore Friedrich Bonte's 10-ship destroyer force has already entered the Oslofjord in the afternoon of the 9th of April. So there's 9 more than have been reported.
Whoops.
Yep. And the first 3 Kriegsmarine destroyers had parlayed with the Norwegian defence ships, which are the Eidsvold and the Norge, who are in the harbour at Narvik. But on the return from the parley, the lead German destroyer fires a salvo of torpedoes at Eidsvold before the returning officers have reported what the parley was.
Just dastardly behaviour.
The Schwein.
That's full-on Schweinhund behaviour.
Yeah, proper Schweinhund. And they set off these torpedoes at just 100 yards.
Really? This is okay. The more I hear about the Germans in the Second World War, the less I like them. That's not my gag, but
Yeah. I think there's only one way to respond to this, and that's instant destruction of this 10-ship force myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so the other one is the Norge. So the Norge is moored at the quayside. He's just thinking, oh my God. We're scupping
What
it.
now?
We've got
Yeah.
3 destroyers are firing at us. There's another 7 kind of waiting out in the Oslofjord. What are we going to do? But bravely, courageously, it fires 17 rounds at the Germans, and then is similarly dispatched right on the quayside. And these are the only seaborne Norwegian defences.
Right.
Despite reports of there being defences at the Vestfjord and the mouth of the Oslofjord, they're not there.
Right.
So 300 Norwegian sailors are killed entirely unprovoked. It's quite bad, actually.
It's quite bad, although, Royal Navy on occasion has done...
Not that. You don't go and do a parley and then send it while they're not...
Yes, Mers el-Kabir, at least...
Do with parleys with lots of warnings, please surrender, don't do it.
Please don't do it. Yeah, okay.
But in Narvik itself, the Norwegian army commander is Colonel Sundlo, who has 450 men, and he's one of the very, very few army officers to follow Vidkun Quisling, who is the pro-German leader of the fascist National Unity Party, the National Sammlung, in Norway. And he quickly surrenders the town, and the German troops hastily disembark. So suddenly the Gebirgsjägers are on. They've got Narvik.
That's a stroke of luck for the Germans there, isn't it? They know that Sundlo is going to do that.
Yeah.
This is all off to a bad start, Jim, for the good guys. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
However, by this time, I mean, obviously, I think it's quite funny that the local Norwegian divisional commander then sacks Sundlo and orders resistance, but, Bit late for that.
You're
fired.
Shutting the stable door, almost.
Yeah. However, Bonte's destroyers, now wicked, dastardly, evil destroyers, now need to refuel.
Well, they've come a long way.
They've come a long way.
They've come from they come from Wilhelmshaven or wherever they've come from.
But
it's a stretch.
they don't have the supply ships for the job.
Well, there was this big plan, you see, to have these Trojan horse ships already there.
And they're not there.
No, there's only one.
Right, okay.
There should be more, but they haven't reached it.
Yeah.
And so there's only one, and they can only fuel one at a time, and it takes, or 2 at a time, and it takes 6 hours to refuel each one.
That they're immediately
it's between 6 and 8 hours.
They're in treacle then there.
Yeah.
So I mean, half the force then remains in the narrow confines of Narvik Harbour. Now I'm not a naval fellow. I'm everyone knows this. I'm very much landlubber in my sort of warfare appreciation, but half a force remaining in the narrow confines of a harbour.
Yeah, so they've split their Commodore Bonte has split his force. So he's got some at Narvik, he's got a couple in Ballangen, he's got a couple up in the harbour.
It's just the words narrow confines, Jim.
Yeah. But it is narrow confine. Compared to the North Sea, compared to the Atlantic. Compared to even the narrows of the English Channel, it's narrow.
It's very narrow.
Yes.
So half the force remain in the narrow confines of Narvik Harbour, and the rest go after the Fjord.
Yeah.
Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Okay. That runs off the main Fjord. And onto the inland at Ballangen.
Yeah, and picture the scene. It's kind of it's a monochrome landscape. It's a dark sea. There's mountains. There's snow on the mountains. It's very monochrome. The whole kind of vibe. It's sort of bleak. It's still quite wintry there. There's lots of rain about. It's stormy.
Yeah.
There's white horses on the even on the fjord,
Yeah.
despite the sheltered nature of its narrow confines.
Yeah.
This is a kind of harsh, bleak kind of Odin hovering above kind of atmosphere.
Got it. And there are U-boats patrolling the mouth of the fjord. So, Andy sends out destroyers in shifts to keep guard because what if the Royal Navy turns up?
Yeah.
And despite all these precautions, Captain Warburton-Lee's force of 4 destroyers are not spotted as they sweep into the fjord under cover of darkness and dense snow flurries in the early hours of the 10th of April.
Yep.
This. I mean, I'm getting a little bit. I'm getting Obi-Wan Kenobi Nelson on my shoulder here.
Yeah.
A little bit of this.
Yeah, massively.
Warburton-Lee, God bless him, had not believed that it was just one
Not
ship,
for 1 minute.
not for 1 second. He thought that there would be a much larger force.
Which is why he's going in with his 4 destroyers.
Yeah, but also
with Hardy and 4 others.
Well, it's why also he's up for the scrap, isn't he? And this is confirmed when he sends some of his men ashore to talk to the Norwegians. There's a pilot station at Tannoy.
Yeah, which is right on the southern side on the mouth of
The
Oslofjord.
Fjord. Yeah,
Oslofjord.
And the pilots go, oh yeah, six destroyers and a U-boat.
Yeah, at least.
At least that, yeah. Who is Warburton-Lee though?
Well, he's a career naval officer. He's a thoroughly good egg. He's hugely experienced. He's known for his discipline,
Right.
But also, he's empathetic, and he's definitely imbued with a Nelsonian aggressiveness.
Yeah.
That's very much hardwired into many such officers at that time. So obviously, he decides to trust to surprise and initiative and deal any German force already at Narvik a mortal blow. Why wouldn't you? Of course, he's going to do that. He's British. And he's in the Royal Navy. He's Warburton-Lee RN.
Yeah, absolutely.
So having signalled this new information about the 6 destroyers, German destroyers, to the Admiralty, he added, intend tacking at dawn, high water. And the reason he wants to attack at high water, of course, is because then there's less chance of going over mines, hitting mines.
Yeah.
And a reply has reached him at 9 p.m. on the 9th of April. Attack at dawn, all good luck. And by then, a 5th destroyer, HMS Hostile, has already joined him.
HMS Hostile.
Yeah, they're all Hunt-class destroyers.
But, normative determinism here. I mean, I'd want to sail on Hostile. I don't
Which
know
is
you.
why he is going in amongst with his 5 destroyers. He's going into the Oslofjord amidst the snow flurries in the early hours of the 10th of April, 1940.
There we go.
And so the stage is now set for a naval struggle such as had never before awakened the echoes in those lonely fjords.
Crikey.
It's not my words.
Oh, you let us all down there, Jim.
No. I came across it in one of the accounts. I just thought that's so funny, and over the top, I've got to use it.
It's not every day that you get glittering prose like that on Wehaveways.
No, I think for such a dramatic episode as this,
we need to set the scene properly because we've done a tiny bit of that, but let's set the scene properly. Because this naval battle for Norway, as we said earlier on, is hugely consequential.
Yeah.
The Royal Navy in the intervening war years, the Admiralty's basically decided, well, we can cope with one global emergency at a time. 2 is biting off more than we can chew, but strategically we can deal with the Germans if it comes to it. Yeah. We can deal with that.
From a naval point of view.
From a naval point of view, expect to fight them in the North Sea.
Yeah.
And those other naval episodes we've done recently have been after the fall of France, when the Germans have control of the Atlantic coast, and the Admiralty's best laid plans are have been completely overturned. Yeah. by the German army, in effect.
And one of the key things is to outgun the enemy.
Yeah.
It is to out-experience the enemy.
Yeah.
So outgun them, but with better gunnery.
Yeah.
Outmaneuver them and be more aggressive than the enemy.
But also denying the Germans' manoeuvre is as important as actually fighting them.
Yeah.
And taking them to battle is less important than denying them freedom of the seas. So if you can bottle them up, if you can make them decide not to come to you and fight, that's what you do.
Yeah.
But what's quite interesting about that is you have an awful lot of very Nelsonian officers who don't want to bottle people up, who aren't interested in a standoff for the Kriegsmarine, a sort of attritional tick of war. They want to fight them.
Well, they absolutely do. But one of the issues of the Norwegian naval battle is the missed opportunities to fight. They're itching to fight, but they keep making the wrong calls, and it's largely to do with intelligence and stuff and misappreciations. So it's a tale of incredible blunders and not a little stupidity, it has to be said. Also, absolutely insane courage and bravery, terrible weapon failures at times, and some dodgy strategy on both sides at various times. Yeah. But I think it is important to kind of stress why are they there in the first place, and just what are the Germans doing invading Norway? I mean, what's the point of it?
Well, I mean, I think if you're a regular listener to this, German strategy doesn't always make sense.
It's not a straight line.
It's not a straight line. Sometimes it doesn't even appear to be a strategy.
No, it's more a reflection of one man's megalomania and narcissism.
Or you give a 12-year-old a global atlas. Basically.
I want to go there.
I think we should send my blokes there. Yeah.
Norway looks nice. I want to go there.
Nice in the winter.
Anyway, it's slightly more nuanced than that.
Well, let's look at the Kriegsmarine and let's look
Admiral
at
Raeder.
The fellow in charge.
A man actually we've not mentioned an awful lot, it has to be said.
No.
So a little bit of sort of background bio on Raeder. He takes over the Reichsmarine, as it then is, in the Weimar Republic age, in October 1928 when he's 52. He joined the Navy in 1894. And he became Admiral Hipper's chief of staff, because there was a real Admiral Hipper before there was a cruiser. And before the First World War, commands the Kaiser's yacht. So he's meeting, he's hanging out with all the right people at an early stage of his career comparatively. Yeah. And he remains Hipper's chief of staff in the First World War. And he's also a fluent Russian speaker, which helps him. And he ends the war as deputy to Admiral Paul Benker, who is State Secretary for the Navy.
Yeah.
Raeder is not a big advocate of U-boat warfare.
Oh.
No. So he's at odds with, I would say, prevailing evidence.
Yes.
Which suggests that that's a very good way for Germany to protract a naval war. But anyway, so he's not he's not totally against it, but he's not a massive advocate. He is working to increase the submarine fleet at the end of the war, but he doesn't think it's a panacea. He thinks it's an add-on. He thinks it's part and parcel, but your fleet has to revolve around a surface fleet.
That's fascinating, isn't it? Because that's not particularly realistic.
From Germany?
No, from a German perspective, given who you're up against.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth pointing out that Germany doesn't really have a navy until the kind of 1890s.
Yeah.
It has no naval tradition. It has, so this is all sort of, it is all new. He also plays a key part in trying to crush the naval mutiny at the end of the war, so he's exempt from the kind of finger of accusation in that. Yeah. He's very, very bright, very, very hardworking, incredibly puritanical. He has a divorce from his wife from which he's completely traumatized. Right. And finds it incredibly embarrassing, and no one's ever allowed to mention it or mention his wife ever again.
Goodness.
And he gets remarried. He's not a barrel of laughs.
Oh.
No, there's no kind of fire slapping and schnapps for him.
Oh, well, although having said that, Jim, all the fellows who do like the barrel of schnapps and slapping their thighs in the German setup are all awful. So,
So maybe he's pretty awful.
I mean, Raeder's one of these people, isn't it? Because he seems to prevaricate at various stages in the war about how he thinks things are going, and he certainly thinks Germany's losing, but long before most other people do.
Yeah.
He kind of gets I think he sometimes gets a bit of a softer ride for that, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
But he's head of the Kriegsmarine.
He's head of the Kriegsmarine, and he's right up to it. And he's got his neck in it.
Yeah, of course.
Interesting. He takes part in the Cap Putsch, which is one of most of the kind of naval staff are involved in this. Yeah. This is anti-Weimar, anti-democracy.
Well, what do you want to know about the guy? And because this is the thing, because the big chunk of the Kriegsmarine's reputation, because of the mutinies and stuff, they're people extremely proactive in showing how loyal they are to the status quo ante, that they want things the way they were before the First World War.
He's a deep conservative.
Yeah, exactly. And after all, in the politics in Germany, it's the super deep conservatives who think, well, Hitler's not that bad, we can let him through, we can control him, he wants basically the same stuff as us. Yeah. So these are distinctions drawn between a man like Raeder and a full paid up Nazi. Yeah. They're subtle. Certainly this stage of the war, when things seem...
He's absolutely, he's a classic product of that kind of German militaristic elite that is conservative, is suspicious of democracy, wants strong leadership, but doesn't want any bullshits anyway.
Well, and has taken action, is the point.
Yes.
Has taken action to see that through by his involvement in the cap push. So you've got to take your rose-tinted spectacles off about Raeder.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't he, that he is clever and he is super involved in the Navy, but he doesn't
Political judgment questionable.
Yeah, exactly. And is actually tactical judgment, which leads to strategic judgment, not brilliant either.
Anyway, after the cap push, he gets marginalised a little bit, but he is given the job of writing the official history of the German Navy in the First World War, which he does, which is a useful exercise. Yeah. And after that, it's very well received, and he resumes his ascent and it becomes the commander-in-chief in 1928. There are arguments that are emerging in the 1920s, and one of the big ones is a guy called Wegener. And Wegener is very keen on kind of making sure that in future, any naval operations that the Germany does should be all about commerce raiding.
Yeah.
And for that, you need a combination of surface ships, light cruisers, which are heavily armed and rapid, and have big fuel tanks, supported by U-boats. While Raeder does understand the importance of waging commerce warfare, and did kind of, accept that the U-boats performed a task in the First World War, he still thinks that you need a surface fleet as well.
Well, because of
a proper big surface fleet.
Because of course he does. He wants some big toys to play with. I mean,
of course.
Let's just be honest here. This is how this. This is a tale as old as time. I want the biggest, snazziest ships I can possibly have under my command. Or I'm no kind of admiral. Status and fleets, national status, imperial status, and the size of your fleet, the size of your ships, are completely inextricably linked.
Yes, and he completely believes this.
Yeah.
He totally believes this. So
he's no extricating the one from the other.
And so he is all for the double pole strategy, as it is known. And this means having a fleet that can wage Großkrieg, i.e. a major naval action at sea against enemy fleets, but which can also protect vital sea lanes of their own, i.e. iron ore coming down the Norwegian coast, and also at the same time wage commerce war. And of course, in the mid-1930s, this is all total pie in the sky. This is la-la land stuff. Yeah. But the reason he advocates this is partly because he believes that he's conservative and he's absolutely imbued with this militaristic Prussian kind of we're the daddies at warfare kind of vibe. Yeah. He's a massive advocate of von Tirpitz, who was behind the dreadnought strategy and the large, imperial fleet and all the rest of it that led to the kind of, the battleship war and build-up war before the First World War. So he's absolutely all in on all that. Yeah. But he thinks he's got time to do this because Hitler has told him that Germany won't be going to war with Britain and won't go to war with anyone until 1944. So he goes, that's fine then. But obviously by 1938, it's absolutely clear that those promises are looking very hollow. But it's also 1938 that the Z plan, which we talked about in our Atlantic War series, is implemented, which is all about creating battleships and aircraft carriers and heavy cruisers and all the rest of it. But of course, at that point, it's too late to change tack. But Germany simply does not have the infrastructure at all to enact this vision in any way.
Nor, in contrast to, say, America, the slack labour in its economy. That you can have the vision all you like, but you don't have the Americans.
You can have a dream.
Exactly. The Americans are able to chuck up shipping yards just like that because they've slack labour, because they've such an enormous labour force, whereas the Germans are short-handed right from the get-go.
Yeah. So by 1939, the Kriegsmarine is very undercooked. It's got the wrong ships. They're undertrained, all the crews. And the pool of experienced sailors is way too small for what they want to do. Only one battleship has been laid down, which we know is the Bismarck, of course. Yep. There's no carriers. There's only 3 Deutschland-class heavy cruisers, and these are known as Panzerschiffe by the Germans, but also known to everyone else as...
pocket battleships. Yes, we've got pocket battleships.
Okay, so we're now going to explain what a pocket battleship is.
Well, but to no one's satisfaction, Jim.
No, we will this time. So these are the same sort of size as HMS Belfast. Yeah, they're 14,000 tons, which means they're kind of quite a bit over the naval agreement of 1935. They're fast warships. Each are fitted with 6 28cm, which is approximately 11-inch guns, and 8 15cm, approximately 5.9-inch guns, as well as 3 8.8cm guns. Well, we all know about 88mm. And 8 torpedo tubes. They can do 26 knots, but they are massively overgunned as commerce raiders.
Yeah.
And they cost twice as much in terms of time and cost as light cruisers.
Because really,
which are absolutely ideal.
Because a commerce raider, you don't need 11-inch guns. Those are for encountering battleships.
No, you want a light cruiser.
Yeah.
9,000 tons, known as the Leipzig class.
Yeah.
And the KMS Nürnberg is one that would actually survive the entire war. They're long range, they're light, they're armed to the gunnels, but with smaller guns. So 9 15cm guns, 8 88mm, 8 3.7 centimeters. And that is what the Germans should be. They should be building like 12 of those and 200 U-boats.
Yeah.
But they don't.
They don't, fortunately.
No, fortunately they don't.
Although had the Kriegsmarine had done something different, the Royal Navy would have responded accordingly. So
yes.
let's not overrate the counterfactual there.
No.
Because they really are, they're so far behind. They are so playing catch up so hard.
And what that means is what they have got in terms of heavy cruisers and light cruisers and everything else, they're going to have to use in the invasion. Because they haven't got landing craft.
No, of course they haven't.
They haven't got landing craft. But
then no one has really.
No one has really, but of all the places to kind of go and invade, Norway's quite a tricky one. So you're going to need your quaysides, you're going to have to bludgeon your way through, and you're going to have to go down some narrow fjords and hope that the Germans are going to play ball. The Norwegians are going to play ball.
But that no one has landing craft is, if you want to explain that the British don't because their strategy is defensive.
Yeah.
The Germans have no strategy.
Because their strategy's mad.
Make it as they go along. So if they're suddenly invading somewhere where they might need landing craft, well, they hadn't thought of that, there is a reason the British don't have landing craft that's a sensible reason. The reason the Germans don't is a silly one. Now let's talk about the Royal Navy. Because,
just very briefly.
Yeah, because, let's be honest now, Jim.
2 sentences.
You're quite in love with the Royal Navy, and I think...
I'm still thinking about that model of HMS Hood. I am.
At the start of the war, the Admiralty and the Royal Navy, they're not really set up to counteract commerce warfare, are they? They're not.
No, because they know that the Germans haven't got any U-boats.
Yeah.
But, they've got 49.
A handful. Relatively.
And they know that they've been building these warships, which are not designed for, even the Panzer ship, the pocket battleships. They're not designed for commerce raiding.
Well, what are they designed for? They're designed for political...
Something and nothing.
Well, no, they're designed for political...
They're halfway house.
Political conspicuous consumption is what they're designed for.
Yeah.
They're designed for the newspapers.
Yeah.
For propaganda purposes, for the Nazi government. And the cruiser force is spread around the world because that's what the cruiser force is for. Yeah. After all, is to project the illusion of British imperial power all over the world and spread prestige across the planet.
Frankly, it does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah. And the destroyers are all a bit old.
But new ones coming in, but of the kind of, whatever it is, 172 destroyers, 184 destroyers, I think only kind of, 24 are
brand new.
Yeah.
Still
more than the Germans.
Still more, of course, yes. Yeah. And they've not that many subs, although they have more submarines. I mean, this is the thing.
They've got 57.
They've still got more than the Kriegsmarine. Yeah. So all these, even the things where they're, a bit on. Yeah, but then.
And they do have aircraft carriers.
But then the Royal Navy isn't looking to prosecute.
But do you know where the aircraft carriers are at this point?
Well, the keels are being laid down.
Well, no, they're in the Mediterranean.
Well, yeah, there we are. Right. Well, then there's new ones coming.
Says it all, doesn't it?
But there's also new ones coming. Is the point? Is the fact that the Germans have not got round to building any. Yeah. The British have turned the taps on with carriers in the last few years before the war begins. That's the Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Of relative strengths. So, British assumptions about that take Britain into this campaign are to do with the British viewing things through a strategic and economic prism.
Yes, very much so. It's about material strength.
Yeah, because if you have great material strength, that's how you.
Well, from a British point of view, Germany can do what it likes in the continent to a degree because it can't get to Britain across the seas.
Yes, the pressure points are seen as oil and iron ore.
Yeah,
and Britain can't do anything about the German oil supply, but iron ore is something that you can intervene in quite directly.
Yeah.
Because there's in Scandinavia there's a great deal of it.
Yeah, and I think it's really worth just pointing out that because of Germany's geographical situation at the heart of Europe, and because it's been stripped bare by the terms of the First World War, the ending of the First World War, it doesn't have a merchant fleet. It does have a merchant fleet, but it's kind of tiny. And of course, its access to the world's oceans comes purely from the Baltic, with its narrow channels, and it has to feed into the English Channel or the North Sea, which is dominated by the Royal Navy.
Yeah.
So it's stuffed. It can't, so Britain quite rightly assumes that Germany is going to be really struggling for the kind of resources you need to protract a long, drawn-out war.
Yeah.
Which is correct, which is why Germany is trying to protract its war in very quick order. This iron ore supply is so crucial for Germany.
Yeah.
Because it can't get it from anywhere else.
Yeah. And it comes from Gällivare and Kiruna, the mines in northern Sweden, mainly, which is up in the Arctic Circle.
Yes, it is.
In summer, it's shipped between Sweden and Finland from Luleå, but in winter, this freezes over.
Yep. Those ships going nowhere.
Yeah. So it comes to Germany along a railway line that's finished in 1902 to Narvik. Narvik is an incredibly important railhead.
Yes. And it only emerges as a town really of any significance after this is completed.
So Norway, of course, is neutral. Norway is not involved in the Second World War at this stage. Because of the Leads, it means that German shipping could stick to the Leads, stay in this area and keep out of harm's way, almost the very southern tip of Norway, which the Luftwaffe's cover over.
Yeah.
So basically, this further makes Narvik even more important. If the British can get into Narvik and block it off, then that kills.
Well, and of all the places where you can have a northern redoubt.
Yeah. And this means, though, if the British can hold Norway, block it off, then this will deny the Germans 1 million tons of iron ore a year.
Yeah. Well, it's a big debt because obviously during the summer months they can still bring it down through they can just bring down more, but it's an embuggerance.
Yeah. And the thing is, this has been on British minds right from the start of the war, because this is how British strategy operates on many levels. It's like, because Britain's a trading nation with that strategic attitude, it thinks in those terms. So it thinks, where are they vulnerable? Iron ore. So, and they're making all sorts of overtures, and there's a waggle dance going on with the Norwegians on the 11th of November.
Well, and also I think the other thing is the lessons from the First World War is don't get yourself embroiled in a massive, great fight where you're going to get bogged down in trenches and everyone whacking each other like whack-a-mole. Yeah. Try and defeat Germany through the peripheries, and the peripheries is supply. So if you can sort of strangle the supply chains, it's kind of job done.
Yeah. And when you have a navy as powerful as the Royal Navy, it's easier for you to fight in the periphery than it is for him.
Yeah.
So on the 11th of November 1939, there's an agreement with the Norwegian Shippers Association that charters the largest merchant vessels in the Norwegian merchant fleet to Britain. And then Norway does do a deal with the Germans on the 23rd of February 1940, agreeing exports from Norway to Germany, which means it's a bit of a to and fro, isn't it? There's one character involved in this who is very, very keen on doing what he can to embugger the German effort, and that's Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Who's back at the Admiralty, of course, and he wants to mine the Leads right at the start of the war, even though
in September.
Terrible violation of Norwegian neutrality.
Yeah, and he's sort of going, but what are they going to do about it? It's got a point. They probably might not sign that Shippers Association.
Well, but they may
on the 11th
not.
of November 1939.
They may not, and you obviously don't want to force them into the bosom of the Germans. But he right from the start of the war is very front foot about this, and essentially.
Chamberlain's not he's worried about betraying neutrality, but also the real problem is they can't get any consensus with France. Yeah. Who is a formal ally. So, decisions like this have to be made together. Yeah. And this is where Raeder comes into it. He is the big advocate. He is the guy who kickstarts the whole kind of Scandinavia project from a German point of view. And on the 10th of October 1939, in a private meeting with Hitler, he suggests says it would be very advantageous for Germany to take over Norway. It could use U-boat bases in the fjords, but it could also protect iron ore trade during the winter months. And also, if they do occupy Norway, then Britain can't occupy Norway, which would cause major problems for Germany if Britain did do that. So, it's a kind of sort of plus one, minus one thing. So Wegener has written this book in 1929, The Sea Strategy of the World War, arguing that Germany had made this terrible mistake in not occupying Norway.
Right.
In 1914, 1918. And pointed out the prime function of Navy is to protect shipping routes and maritime trade. And Wegener argued that by not taking Norway, Britain had been able to impose more thorough economic blockade. Which is true.
Yeah.
So Wegener is also wedded very much to the theory of creating a commerce raiding force rather than a battle fleet. So Raeder rather sort of cherry picks Wegener's, theories about naval warfare.
Yeah.
So he takes a kind of, I'm all for taking Norway, but I'm not keen on just having a commerce raiding force. I want to have my double pole strategy instead.
Raeder keeps chipping away at Hitler, and of course the Germans aren't answerable to any allies either, so they can make a decision on this.
Yeah.
And on the 8th of December, he again says we should occupy Norway. He says this to Hitler directly, and this coincides with the report that Vidkun Quisling, who is the leader of the tiny National Samling, the National Union Fascist Party.
Yes, a minority party.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. They're ready, and they're ready to help out with the peaceful occupation of Norway by the Germans. However, Raeder talks to Quisling and realizes...
Yeah, they have a meeting.
Yeah,
and
the penny drops.
Yeah, you're a total loser.
Yeah. And Quisling, though, at that meeting says, the Brits have got designs on Norway, but he thinks it's in order to help out the Finns. Because one of the other things that's going on, of course, is the Soviet-Finnish War, the Winter War, which the British and the French, at the same time as all this, are prevaricating about. The French at one point are quite keen on sending soldiers to help the Finns.
Yeah.
And the British I don't know about that. And you just imagine if slightly different diplomatic course of events.
Yes, they've sent their Scots battalion down to the Alps to train.
Yeah. That Quisling should bring Finland in is interesting, because that is the other thing that's going on.
But also, once you start planting a seed of a bold, crazy, madcap idea to Hitler, it very soon takes hold.
Yeah.
So on the 27th of January 1940, a new Sonderstab, a special staff, is being set up at the OKW, which is the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, the General Staff, in high secrecy to begin detailed planning. And this is the point where it's given its operational code name, Weserübung.
Weserübung. And of course, by this stage, it's Hitler's idea.
Yeah, and it's going to happen, mate.
because that's how it works.
Yeah, there's no U-turn now.
Yeah, that's how it works around here. The Führer says it's a brilliant idea. Oh, has he?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And by the way, if you think his planning for Norway is la la land, just wait till we get to Barbarossa.
So British plans are to land at Narvik and 3 other points that are given, and that's given approval on the 5th of February. And
so it's working pretty much in tandem with the German plans.
It's interesting, isn't it? They've both drawn the same conclusion and they're heading in the same direction.
Yeah.
British, of course, they think that the Norwegians loathe Germany and they wouldn't mind at all if Britain lands.
No, I mean, there's a sort of terrible arrogance to the British planning.
Well, but isn't this... That's the Iraq War, isn't it? That's
yes.
Afghanistan. They're going to welcome us as their chums and liberators. And then there's the Altmark incident on the 16th of February.
Which we talked about in our Atlantic War series.
We did. When HMS Cossack enters the fjord and comes along the German ship despite protests from the Norwegians.
You can't do that.
Yeah, and that
I think I can, old man.
And they're jolly well doing it.
Yeah.
I've done it.
And what are you going to do about it?
Exactly, you've done nothing.
Cut along and leave us to it.
Yeah, absolutely. As a result, though, this means the Germans have got to speed things up. Hitler's now saying we need to speed up, and Raeder starts to go,
oh, that means my fleet.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm not so sure.
Can we do it in 1944?
Exactly. 5 years too soon. 4 years too early. What are you talking?
Yeah.
What do you mean, boss? The British they take 299 prisoners of war, and this is a firm signal to the Germans that Britain is interested in Norway.
Yeah.
And for the Germans, it makes Quisling look like a better bet, doesn't it?
Well, it does if you hit her.
Yeah, exactly. And he wants to speed things up and make sure that whatever the British are planning, because they must be planning something. So on the 21st of February, Weserübung plans are accelerated, and General von Falkenhorst is appointed as commander.
It's so brilliant, this. So because all the planning is going ahead for for Case Yellow.
Yeah.
The planned attack in the west, which is sort of going back and forth about what they're actually going to do. This is all pre kind of sweep through the Ardennes stuff, and so Hitler likes the cut of General von Falkenhorst's jib, and so calls him up, and Falkenhorst has no idea what he's about to be asked. And Hitler says, right, we're going to invade Norway, and I want you to be in charge. He's sort of spluttering. Barely knows anything about Norway at all. Has to rush out and buy a Baedeker guide to kind of get a little bit of a briefing on it.
Yeah.
I mean, how ridiculous.
Yeah.
And while he's doing this, Raeder is even more so pulling back on the plans, because he's worried that any invasion is going to bring them up against the Royal Navy. And that even if they're successful, he's not convinced that defending the long Norwegian coastline is going to be easy or practicable. It's over 1,000 miles, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, you might end up like dumping 300,000 soldiers there to defend.
Well, even more, maybe 450,000. I'm getting some really, really big guns. It's quite an investment.
Although his staff are saying, are we sure the British have got enough people to occupy Norway themselves, actually? Which is a question worth asking, isn't it? Then at the Führer conference on the 23rd of February, so 2 days after von Falkenhorst has been given the gig, Raeder now says that actually, if we maintain neutrality, then we've got a better chance of keeping the iron ore route clear.
Yeah.
Stirring things up is a bad idea. And he says, well, obviously we need to be ready to counter anything the British might do, but let's not overcommit here.
Yeah. Careful, chaps. I would err on the side of caution.
He's right? He's right, isn't he?
Yeah, but then why did he mention it in the first place?
Well, because this is it. This is part of the problem, isn't it? Is that if Hitler decides he's had a brilliant idea thanks to your advice.
Makes your brilliant idea.
Yeah.
It's his brilliant idea.
Yeah, it's his brilliant idea. And so by early March, you've again with the Finns are in the picture. The
Finns are desperate for help.
Yeah.
So they're saying, how are we going to? Because the only way the British and French can help is by going through Norway and Sweden to Finland.
Yeah.
So the Finns are going, well, you can get around that. You're not going to be breaking their neutrality because Article 16 of the Covenant of the League of Nations allows the right of transit for troops helping member nations if they're under attack. So it's fine. I mean, yeah. So he's now planning for Weserübung to be further accelerated. And by 10th of March, the invasion force is on 4 days' notice.
Right.
Which is organised and planned and prepped entirely separate to the planning for Case Yellow, and completely separate from the staff, the general staff of the Heere, the OKH, the army.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
On the 9th of March at the Führer conference that day, Raeder falls into line.
Of course he does.
Yeah, because they always do, don't they?
Yeah,
he did warn Hitler of risks to the Kriegsmarine in some detail.
You can be Raeder.
He says, the operation in itself is contrary to all principles in the theory of naval warfare. According to this theory, it could be carried out by us only if we had naval supremacy. We do not have this. On the contrary, we are carrying out the operation in the face of the vastly superior British fleet. In spite of this, provided supplies is complete, our troops can and will successfully be transported to Norway.
We're going to get shat on, but it'll all be fine.
I
mean, what is it?
We've been doing this a long time now, Jim. So often we'll read a thing where they're hedging.
They're saying two completely diversionary things, which in their mind they seem to have sort of, what's the word? They've kind of sort of worked. They've kind of accepted in their mind that there is this complete paradox.
It's cognitive dissonance,
fine,
isn't it? I believe this, I believe that. At the same time, it is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, and he also warns that even if they do get there, which it'll be fine, they will get there. The return journey is likely to be very, very fraught because, of course, they'd have stirred up the hornet's nest and everyone will be after them and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But he says the absolute key to the whole thing is operational surprise.
Yeah.
It has to be kept, But how can you keep operational surprise when you've got to travel the sort of length and breadth of the North Sea and the Baltic?
Well, with great difficulty.
Yeah. But he hasn't bargained on the faffing of the Allies.
Yes, because this is really...
I don't want to do down the French.
This is the...
But...
Why not?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, honestly, this is the faff stage of the war.
I was being disingenuous.
This is very much the faff stage of the war. The Sitzkrieg, the phony war. It's not called
Well,
that
and it
for
is
no
absolutely
reason.
amazing, and we're going to do a little series on this because that period, particularly from sort of December 1939, so post the whole Poland thing and the Tsar inoffensive to the Norwegian campaign is an amazing period. There's so much going on, which is so interesting, even though it's not properly sort of kinetic at that point.
Yeah. By the beginning of March, as we've seen, the Germans they're reaching their point of no return, but the British and the French just can't. They can't.
Can't agree.
They can't pin the tail on the donkey, can they? That's what it comes down to. They've appointed some force commanders. So the 59-year-old Admiral Teddy Evans,
he's quite the chap.
Oh, he's a former Antarctic explorer.
Hello, Teddy Evans. Yeah.
He was on Scott's expedition.
Yeah.
This isn't.
He wasn't in the forward bit, but he was on it.
I don't care.
Yeah.
This is another world, isn't it? We're talking about.
Yeah. He did a great line in pullovers.
And he's the naval force commander, while General and the army commander is General Kenneth Maxey.
So it's all planned without being greenlit.
Yeah. Evans on the 12th of March tells the war cabinet that he reckons a bold landing in and around Narvik would at best be welcomed by Norwegians and at worst prompt token resistance. But
I think he's right about that.
Yeah. But it's bold. It's bold. There's your Navy word.
Yeah.
Get it done.
So a bold landing means go there with overwhelming force so that no one's going to actually kick up a stink. And don't forget, it's so far north.
There is someone who doesn't like this plan, though, and that's the Prime Minister.
It is the intention of HM government that your force should land, provided it can do so without serious fighting.
Well, I can't guarantee that.
Well, so again,
he pretty much can guarantee that.
But he's doing it too. He's going, yes, we'll go ahead as long as
no but.
Yes. However, one thing that's definitely changed is by this time it's clear that the Finns they can't carry on, and they're negotiating with the Russians.
They can only wait so long for the French and the British to intervene.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and it isn't going to happen.
I mean, it's very much we stand shoulder to shoulder to the brave Finns, but we're not actually going to do anything.
Well,
I know. That's the point.
It's a tale as old as time, Jim.
Yes, exactly.
And the cabinet have just approved the plans for Norway when news comes in of the armistice between the Soviet Union and the Finns.
That's what comes if you faff.
So they can't do the pretext version of this
of sort of Covenant of the League of Nations.
Yes, we're here.
Article 16.
Hello, we're here with Article 16, and nail it to the town hall.
Well, no one told me the Finns had surrendered.
So the government then does what governments do and changes its mind, says, we don't approve of this plan anymore.
Well, we have a massive U-turn.
Yeah, so Norway's off.
Yeah. And the 5th Battalion of the Scots Guard, who've been training at Chamonix, are told to come back. Bad show.
Of all the people to send to a ski resort, loads of guardsmen.
So
honestly.
Farewell to the skis and hello to the train ticket.
However, in the meantime, the one person interested in actually fighting the Germans, Winston Churchill.
I have an idea.
He starts up again with the mine laying.
Pray I might return to this oft-mentioned policy.
None but a fool could see that mining leads, the Norwegian leads should lead to, through their own way, by some stroke of fortune as ordained by the Almighty.
In the dark depths of the mouth of these fjords.
And so on. There are so many moving parts here, aren't there? Because the French government then...
collapses again.
Yeah.
So they have their 19th Prime Minister.
Paul Reynaud.
And since 1930.
But interestingly, he's being a bit more decisive. So he comes in on the...
He's quite gung-ho.
Yeah, he comes in on the 21st of March and he approves French cooperation in an operation in Norway.
Yeah.
And this is codenamed with the mining, in fact. So Churchill calls this Operation Wilfred. And he thinks that they're better do the mining and make it look innocent.
Well, that's why he calls it Wilfred, because it's a sort of innocent name. It's really funny.
Obviously, the Germans were going to be provoked into action because they're looking for a fight. And the Norwegians would just have to suck it up. Yeah. But this does mean all these sort of...
So hang on a minute. So we'll mine the leads.
Yeah.
But it'll be a minor operation.
Minor operation.
But that's going to provoke the Germans. So the Germans are going to provoke to do something.
May be expected from Herr Hitler.
And his Nazi hordes.
And his Nazi navy.
So that means you then got to think, okay, well, how do we respond to that? We can't just leave the Norwegians to their own devices. So we need to mount an expeditionary force as well. But that's okay because we're closer to northern Norway than the Germans are, and we've got the Royal Navy, so it'll be fine. So they have a plan which is excitingly called R4.
Disappointing, this.
A very disappointing name.
Yeah. Troops will land at Stavanger and Bergen.
Yep. Which is in the sort of central southern half of the west coast of Norway.
That's 2 battalions each to sail in 4 cruisers. There are no assault craft at this time.
No, sir.
No. Another battalion will sail for
I think
Trondheim.
an LCA is being trialled at this point.
Yeah, but it's not on the. No. We're going to fight the war.
It's in the Solent, and it's kind of not going anywhere.
Yeah, we're going to fight the war defensively in Europe. And here we are fighting offensively. One battalion is also going to go to Trondheim. They're going to land a couple of days later in transports. And then another battalion in transport, protected by 2 cruisers, will go to Narvik. And the Narvik force will then, once it's taken, the town will be reinforced.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like your plans for Stavanger and Bergen, which are quite a long way down the coast. I mean, they're kind of, you know how sort of Norway bulges. They're kind of, that feels insufficient to me.
Yes.
In quite a big way.
Yes. Well, it'd be like occupying Cardiff and Llandudno and thinking that they're...
with 130 men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking that you've done the job.
Okay.
And that they're next door to
That's
each other.
sorted then.
But they're both in... I mean, there's someone with a map going, well, they're all in Norway, aren't they? How far can they be from one another?
Well, the big problem with Stavanger is there is a massive airfield nearby.
The 2nd Cruiser Squadron is going to support this under Vice Admiral Frederick Edward Collins. And their orders are to deal with any seaborne expedition the Germans may send against Norway. But they're only to sail when it's clear that the Germans have set foot on Norwegian soil.
This is not great, is it? Let's face it.
That's very Chamberlainian, isn't it?
Yes. Hedge your bets, do something and nothing, end up kind of just
worst of both
worlds.
Yeah. And it's also agreed that that they'll warn Norway and Sweden first and point out that the Norwegian and Swedish stances is neutral. It's actually helping the Germans.
Yeah.
And this is obviously...
You must see that your neutrality is helping Herr Hitler. Oh, right, okay, yeah, no, actually, when you put it like that, you got a point. Okay, well, come on then.
But the logic there is that Germany stands against independence and the rights of small powers, whereas the British and French...
It's sort of bullying and hectoring, isn't it? But kind of without any substance.
Well, or not bullying and hectoring enough.
No, this is the point. It's just not ruthless, is it?
Yeah.
It's not. It's just it's faffing. It's faffing. Yeah. There's one thing I hate in life. It's faffing about.
He doesn't like faffing about.
I don't like faffing about.
No.
Come on.
No.
If you do it or
we're
don't
faffing
do
about
it.
right now anyway. But the truth is that the German planning doesn't rely on the Norwegians playing ball.
No.
But the Allied planning does.
Yes. Yes. There's a sort of disconnect. And this is the moment where Goering's private listening service, the Forschungsamt, which we've mentioned before. So for those of you who haven't heard about this, Hermann Goering, Commander-in-Chief of the Luftwaffe and President of Prussia, has his own private listening service, his own intelligence service, which is entirely for him and which is sanctioned by Hitler. And occasionally he passes stuff off, and primarily it's to kind of keep tabs on his own enemies within Germany in the Nazi hierarchy. But occasionally, when it's something juicy, he passes it on. And he picks up a Finnish diplomatic telegram in March revealing Allied plans for Norway, which he passes on to Hitler, who then decides to act. So the German plan is ready by the 20th of March. And it's then delayed because of persistent ice in the Baltic, which makes those naval operations impossible. So Hitler is, absolutely cursing and spitting and ranting and raving. But on the 2nd of April, Hitler decides on the 9th of April, and this is as the launch day of Operation Weserübung, because this is based on moon and melting of ice and so on. So the operation is going to begin at 5:15 German time and would be
one of the rashest undertakings in the history of modern warfare.
Which is why he likes it.
Which is why he likes it, This is a stage of the war where he's gambling and there are possible winnings.
But, high-risk military gambles with minimal consultation or coordinated planning in any way are very much Hitler's style.
Yeah. What we have here is decisive, insane, uncoordinated action versus
Quite well coordinated, but indecisiveness.
Yeah, exactly. So it's dash or dither. That's your your choice here, because the Allies are signing
That
off.
feels like a T-shirt too.
That's dash or dither. Yeah, they're signing off their plans at a Supreme War Council.
one.
And the British, they have tons of intel suggesting that the Germans are planning an attack on Norway. Even a report from a neutral minister in Copenhagen on the 6th of April that a German division has transported in 10 ships and it's due to land in Narvik on the 8th of April. They basically
They've nailed it.
Yeah, they've got it nailed on. But the British don't believe it, who don't believe the Germans have never tried to land so far north.
They don't have the navy.
Absolutely not. They don't have the naval legs for it, do they? Do they, Admiral?
No, they don't. No, an absurd notion.
Narvik is ours.
Narvik is ours for the taking should we decide to do so, but we still haven't decided on it yet, and the Prime Minister understands it's silent war.
Dismissed.
I mean, what's interesting, there is another distraction here, is that the French...
Finally.
Paul Reynaud has said, all right, we will mine the River Rhine.
Because this is the whole idea is to not just do the leads, it's also do a series of operations. And one of the big ones that they're very keen on is to, the British have been very keen on, is to mine the River Rhine, this great thoroughfare of German commerce. But the French have been very nervous about this because they don't want to prompt a reaction against the French. Because they're still struggling with this belief.
Why
that the
declare
Luftwaffe...
war on Germany if you're not going to fight them?
Well, yes, I know, but you're forgetting General Verleman.
Yeah.
You know, the commander of the Army of the Air.
Yes.
And his trip to see Erhard Milk.
Yeah, I know. They're basically
They're shitting themselves.
there you are. Thank you. That's the historic analysis that you come to this podcast for. They've been on at this for months. And Daladier, Reynaud's predecessor, isn't interested.
So it's all agreed that Operation Wilfred is set for the 5th of April, with concurrently some mining operations on the River Rhine.
Okay.
But Daladier, the former Prime Minister, is now the Minister of, or still the Minister of National Defence, and he and the French Comité de Guerre refused to authorise the mining of the Rhine. There's an impasse. And so Churchill flies over to Paris, even though he's not Prime Minister, he's just in the Admiralty, with Edward Spears, General Edward Spears, who's a great French speaker, been a liaison officer with the French in the First World War, and as a diplomat, and was born and brought up in France, even though he's British. And they go over there to try and change Daladier's mind. And it becomes absolutely crystal clear that Daladier's stance has got nothing to do with the fear of France and everything to do with getting at Reynaud, who he absolutely loathes. And Spear says the two men detested each other, and Daladier was determined to exert his utmost power to humiliate Reynaud in every possible way.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen. So Churchill tries to persuade Daladier to change his mind, but the latter tells him that France didn't have an air force to retaliate should the Luftwaffe bomb French cities. He's completely wrong about this. France has got plenty of aircraft and as many as the Luftwaffe. Churchill returns to London and advises the cabinet to just go ahead with the Leads anyway and forget about the Rhine bit. But in all this faffing around, 3 days have been lost. So the new date is now dawn on Monday, the 8th of April.
Which is, of course, as we know from the intelligence they've received,
24 hours before the Germans start going around.
Then fate intervenes.
Yep.
Because the Germans are due to land in Denmark or Norway at 5:15 in the morning on the 9th of April. And the British are going to mine the Leads the day before. So this is it. Stage is set for this great encounter, Jim.
Well, it is. But obviously for Weserübung to begin on the 9th means you've got to have your troops and see at least by the 7th.
Yep.
The task force for this grand invasion is placed into 6 Marinengruppen, sea groups, naval groups, which requires pretty much the entire Kriegsmarine, including 31 U-boats, which is the entire operational force at that time, and including landings all along the Norwegian coast. It's ambitious, to put it mildly. The Luftwaffe is also to seize by airborne assault key airfields of Fornebu, which is near Oslo, which is now the international airport at Oslo, and Sola near Stavanger on the southwest coast. And much of the Kriegsmarine is simply not ready for war in any shape or form. You know, the vessels aren't properly worked up, they're largely untested, the crews are completely green, etc. So very, very quickly, Marinegruppe 1 or 1 is for Narvik with 10 destroyers, the aforementioned 10 destroyers under Commodore Bonte, with 2,000 Gebirgsjäger, and supported out at sea by the battle cruisers Scharnhorst and the Gneisenau. Remember them?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then there's Marine Group 2, which is for Trondheim, which is a little bit further down the coast. It's the heavy cruiser Admiral Hipper, plus 4 destroyers and 1,700 troops. It's commanded by Admiral Gunther Lutyens.
Oh no, this operation will not work.
It will not work. Oh, dear. And then there is Marine Group 3.
Yeah, which is going to Bergen.
Drei.
Which is the light cruisers Köln and Königsberg. And,
This is what you want. You just want light cruisers.
Yeah, and an old cruiser Bremse and some training craft. 1,900 soldiers.
Yep.
I mean, these are bigger deployments than the single battalions that the British are sending as well. Is the other
Just a
thing.
little bit, yeah.
Marine Group of 4 is going to Kristiansand and Arendal, and that's a light cruiser Karlsruhe and 3 torpedo boats and a flotilla of MTB. So they're beginning to scrape the barrel there.
Yeah. You're starting to thin out.
Yeah, you started off with 10 destroyers and Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. Now we're down to basically blokes in ribs. The Marine Group of 5 is going to Oslo. That's the heavy cruiser Blücher.
Yep, brand new. Not worked up at all.
Yeah, and the
Brand new.
pocket battleship, the Panzerschiffe Lützow, the light cruiser Emden, and smaller craft with 2,000 troops. And then Marines Group of 6, which is going to Egersund, is 4 minesweepers and 150 men to occupy the Cape.
And Egerton is just a little outpost, so that's a kind of, But then there are these Trojan horse supply ships, and this is key to the whole thing. So the idea is it's supposed to look like they're heading to Murmansk.
Yeah.
These are just, we're just, going to support, get some stuff from the Russians, or our allies, our friends.
Yeah.
But actually, the 7 ships are going to pause, and they're waiting at Narvik, and another 15 merchant vessels are carrying 3,761 troops, 672 horses, still need their horses, the Germans, 1,377 vehicles, and 5,935 tons of supplies. 2 tankers, the Kattegat and the Jan Velen, are sent ahead to Narvik and the Skagerrak to Trondheim.
Yeah.
And this is essential because obviously Trondheim is further up the coast, Narvik even further up the coast. By the time the destroyers and that force get up there, they're going to be running low and they're going to need to oil. And so these Trojan horses are going to be lying there ready for them to just refuel so they can turn around quick time and zip back before the Royal Navy can catch them.
But Jim, this all sounds pretty good. This is bigger than the current Royal Navy.
Yes, it is. Substantially so.
Yeah, but I mean, they're nevertheless compared to their opponent. This is hardly peer-to-peer warfare because they're much weaker than the Royal Navy. They have no carriers, so they can't bring any air with them.
No.
They have no actual battleships.
No.
It's all a bit threadbare, and that's everything. It's the whole
That is a
inventory.
lot.
Yeah, I mean, if it is a gamble, it's all the chips.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I mean, ready and waiting to go across in stages are 120,000 troops in all, which is not a small amount, but it's not a huge amount either. And all of Fliegerkorps 10, which is 1,200 aircraft, of which the Allies absolutely cannot compete at all.
Yeah, can't do anything like that.
And at the very same time, the British troops ready for Narvik and Trondheim are boarding transports in the Clyde. And Admiral Evans, Teddy Evans, he is hoisting his flag on the cruiser Aurora. And the first cruiser squadron of 4 cruisers at sea, also destroyers, heading through the heavy snowstorms towards the Vestfjord for the mining of the Leads. So, do you think the fates are converging for a head-on clash?
I think we've got here is a fjord hanger.
That's good, isn't it? And it is, I think, amazing that after so much Allied faffing around and vacillating over Norway, both sides are beginning their offensives at the same moment and both ignorant of the other's plans.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah,
and also
bonkers.
And that ill-conceived dash
and dither
versus sort of very ponderous, thought-through dither have arrived in exactly the same place at the same time. It reminds me, I once went sailing a very long time ago.
Oh, did you?
We sailed to Alderney in my uncle's boat, and my dad did the navigation by absolute slide rule perfection, charts and all that.
Of course he did.
Because he'd been to night school and he'd learned how to navigate properly.
Yeah.
And my uncle was very much like, well, that way a bit. One of those people. And we sailed overnight over to Alderney, and we ended up exactly halfway between where the two of them had plotted.
Did you have a good laugh about it?
We had a great laugh about it, yeah. Well, at least my mum thought it was funny. But yes, so it's dash versus dither.
But we should start off, shouldn't we, by looking at the not very secret operation.
Yes, which is what we've got here. So
don't forget, Admiral Raeder has insisted.
I insist.
The only chance of success is secrecy.
Exactly. Although he also thinks it's going to go badly, but
really well.
But really well. But they've not been able to achieve that. There's lots of reports and intelligence reaching the Admiralty of the build-up of German shipping. It's very hard to hide build-up of shipping, isn't it?
I mean, even a bomber going over with leaflets can look down.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you steam past a neutral country, that you're going to get reports. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, of course.
But, of course, if you've got lots of intelligence coming to you, one of the problems is
what's real, what's fake,
weighing it, what's important, what's less important.
They can't be going to Narvik.
No, we're going to Narvik.
We're going to Narvik. They can't be going to Narvik.
Oh, be quiet. I'm sure we'll be fine.
And now, if you were to say they're going to Tromsø, well,
that's a different matter. But the report about Narvik is there's information from the Norwegian government that says the Germans are planning to land in Narvik.
Yes, there is. And there are also air reconnaissance missions going on the 4th of April, which has spotted Scharnhorst and Gneisenau at anchor in Wilhelmshaven. Yeah, I mean, the report is about Narvik is passed on to Admiral Sir Charles Forbes, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Home Fleet on the 7th of April, but accompanied by the comment, all these reports are of doubtful value and may well be only a further move in the war of nerves.
Well, there we are.
Which is basically euphemism for, I'd discount it if I were you.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Take it with a pinch of salt.
It's of doubtful value, and if it is anything, it's something we needn't worry about. So, I mean, they really are playing that down. They then get sightings of Marinegruppers 1 and 2 heading northwards up the coast of Norway on the next day, on the 7th. And, of course, if the Admiralty had gone, right, okay, this is it.
Let's act with Nelsonian vigour.
They'd have caught them in the open.
Yep.
And we'd be telling a different story, probably.
Yes.
Because the Royal Naval Cruiser Squadron at Rosyth would have been able to dash across the North Sea in plenty of time.
It is so frustrating because these first 3 Marine Gruppen should have been blasted out of, they should have been sent to the bottom in very quick order.
Yeah, but they're not.
They're not. What's the point of having an economic blockade and having a superior navy if you're not bringing it to bear? It is terrible. And, isn't it better to kind of assume that they are real and be there ready, waiting for action, rather than to assume they're not and not be ready?
Look, Jim, I'm not going to argue. It's compelling logic. I'm not going to argue with that.
It's quite frustrating.
It is quite frustrating, all of this. There's more mixed reports that German destroyers are heading south, and this means that Forbes brings the fleet to 1 hour notice, but then stands at the back.
The big worry his worry is that they're not all convinced about the invasion of Norway. What they really think is this might be a major force breaking out into the Atlantic, and the whole thing is a ruse to get out and attack British shipping, which is obviously of vital importance, particularly in the spring of 1940.
Yeah.
So from Forbes's point of view, he's been given a pretty hard steer by the Admiralty. And the danger is that if you dash off over to the Norwegian coastline, then they're going to come around the back and break out into the Atlantic. That's the concern.
But that's always the concern, isn't it? If you're in charge of the Home Fleet, that is your number one. I don't want to be chasing on a wild goose chase. And they get round and out into the Atlantic.
Yes, it is. And reports are going all the way up to kind of Trondheim and Narvik seem ridiculous because why on earth would the Germans be doing that? Because that's so far out of their comfort zone, going that far north.
Yeah.
Which is why they're disinclined to believe the kind of whole Narvik thing.
Right.
Even so, it's still...
Come on, Jim, say it.
I think it's a mistake.
It's a mistake. Oh, I thought we were going to going a bit hard on that. It's crap. Yeah. And obviously, what Forbes is thinking, if I can have a great big lovely fleet battle, I can wipe out the Kriegsmarine in one go, and then
job done
for the rest of the war.
Yeah.
Then we can get on with our blockade.
Yes.
The Royal Air Force, as you said, they are sending bombers over, and they spot enemy ships sailing 70 miles north off Skagerrak.
And Skagerrak's right down the south.
Yeah, and this persuades Forbes to issue orders to sail at 5:27 p.m. on the 7th of April, although he doesn't know what the Germans are doing. So he's right, okay. There's some ships to go fight.
It's also not helped by the weather, which is truly, truly dreadful.
Yeah.
Even though it's spring.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean...
But that does make... That makes coordinated attack's very difficult because you're pitching and rolling and all the rest of it, and you can't see much and blah blah blah. So
and it's wind, rain, and snow flurries, and the thing is the weather holds everyone up. It doesn't just make things difficult for you; it makes things difficult for your opponent.
Yes.
And the big problem for the Germans is their
whole Trojan horse ruse of sending these supply ships early ahead of the assault forces into these ports and harbours is coming awry. So at Narvik, we mentioned right at the very beginning of episode 1 when we had our drop colour intro, only one of the 3 tankers has arrived, the Jan Velen, which is why they're taking such a long time to refuel these ships. Yeah.
Meanwhile, though, I mean, okay, for fans of battleships of the Second World War, get your ears around this.
Yeah.
Forbes is in the Rodney with the second battleship, Valiant, with the battlecruiser Repulse. There's the cruisers Sheffield and Penelope, and 10 destroyers off Shetland, standing to block any breakout into the Atlantic. So that there you go. Now we're rolling. Second cruiser squadron with 11 destroyers is heading towards Stavanger. First cruiser squadron is still at Rosyth with troops aboard, waiting for orders to sail to Stavanger and Bergen. Also off the Shetlands is the 18th cruiser squadron with Manchester, Southampton, accompanying a convoy headed to Norway. But they'd already been turned back. So, but you've got here
is a shitload of warships that can really cause some serious damage.
Yeah, and also Admiral Whitworth,
not forget Whitworth
in renown.
Yeah,
who's now at the Leads mine lane.
Yeah, and he's got a dozen destroyers because he's got Warburton-Lee's 5, and then he's got a further 6 at least, I think, around him. He's got the 4th and the 20th.
Okay, but it's on one ship we must focus.
HMS Glowworm.
HMS Glowworm. I mean,
what a story this is.
Well, first things first. I'd rather be on Hostile.
You mean the same?
But Glowworm is one of Admiral Whitworth's force, and interestingly, they've been held up because they've been looking for a man who's been swept overboard. They don't know. Oh no! But it's that strange serendipity of that delay because of that fellow falling overboard that results in, on the dawn on the 8th of April, Glowworm is west of Trondheim, heading north at speed to catch up with Whitworth's force. And first light comes. It's an empty, storm-tossed sea with a visibility only to a few miles. Right.
Yeah. Glowworm's crew, they're stood down from dawn action stations because no one's expecting anything at this point. It's filthy weather, expecting empty seas, but no sooner in the lurching wetness of mess decks when there's a cry from the lookout, "Ships ahoy!" and the dim shape of a destroyer looms in the squall and then disappears again. I mean, it's all very Master and Commander, isn't it? Yeah. But identified in that brief glimpse as German.
It's Jerry, sir.
I'm sorry, sir, but I've just spotted a Jerry destroyer.
Then another one.
Very well. Then another one. Yeah. And immediately, because Glowworm has got the shadow of Nelson on his shoulder.
Of course, yes.
What did he do? There's two German destroyers which are bigger than you, because all German destroyers are bigger because they're trying to overcompensate for something. Yeah. And he turns straight into them, takes them on. And Glowworm is commanded by Lieutenant Commander Gerard Roop, who's 35 years old. He's a veteran of the Royal Navy. He's a proper old sea dog. And doesn't hesitate, does he? Just goes straight for it.
No. But his nickname is Ardover because he has a habit of issuing quick and dramatic alterations of course.
Yeah, of course he does.
Yeah. Ardover.
Go on.
So, as a result, Glowworm, HMS Glowworm, which is not a good name, fires the first shots of the Norwegian campaign against
Jacobi. It's good that it's us.
Yeah, it is. Of course it is. Hits her at least once.
Get in there. Donna Ramsar.
And then the German destroyer, of course, thinks, oh shit, it's the Royal Navy, and does what it ought to do.
Yes.
Disappears into the mist.
Yes. As
the first 2 salvos from the 4.7-inch guns scream across the open sea.
Yeah.
Then the second destroyer appears again, and Glowworm fires again.
Of course he does.
Oh, God, I love it.
Destroyers rolling all over the place. There's incredibly high swell. But shots from Glowworm are accurate enough to make the German destroyers manoeuvre frantically at high speed. I mean, they've got troops on.
Yeah.
They don't want to be mucking around with this. So the second German destroyer is the Bernd von Arnim. Much bigger, much more heavily armed. And it plunges and rolls so dramatically and so quickly that she nearly capsizes.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you got shit crew. So they're clearly they don't want to engage at all. They just want to get to their destination. Yeah. But not far away is the heavy cruiser, the Admiral Hipper.
Oh, here we go.
So Roop senses that the enemy is trying to lead them onto something more powerful. He doesn't have any idea that the Hipper is nearby, but he also knows that the Admiralty needs to know exactly what German units are there. So he's got to get eyes on them, even if he's not going to take them on. I mean, he could have just disappeared into the sea, couldn't he?
Well, he could have done it. He could have said, I'm sorry, you're breaking up. He could have done all that, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could have done all of that.
Yeah.
But no, he's got Nelson on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And 5 miles away to the northwest, through the gloom, spray and mist, the Glowworm suddenly spots a huge shape. And this is the heavy cruiser, the Hipper, with her 8 big guns and a very thick armour.
Yeah.
And normally you'd think that Root would just try and shadow the big German, but these are not normal times, of course.
No.
And he's got Nelson on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Engage the enemy more closely.
Yeah. So he decides, what with the bad weather,
that
the best thing to do is to
fight. 1 against 3, including one a cruiser.
Yeah, it's very strong. And the Hipper is a heavy cruiser.
It's a big boy.
Obviously, they've lied about what she weighs. That's to tell us all this time, isn't it?
Yeah, 16
you're
plus
a size
1,000
12,
tons.
honest.
Breathing in.
But she's 16,000 tons. She's got 8 8-inch guns, 12 105mm guns, 12 torpedo tubes. Interesting, isn't it? The Germans, these ships have to sort of do everything. They've got 2 torpedo tubes as well.
And 32 anti-aircraft guns.
Expecting trouble.
She's bristling with weaponry.
Yeah, she's literally bristling with weaponry. And she's from Marinegruppe 2, who's headed to Trondheim, and she's got troops on board.
Yep.
Because the Germans have to double everything up. And so she opens fire on the Glowworm and hits her first go with an 8-inch shell.
But does that put off Roop?
No.
And the Glowworm, little Glowworm.
No.
He thinks, right, I'm gonna have you.
Okay, lay smoke. Yes, sir. All right, sir.
Laying smoke.
Torpedoes, prepare. And so he decides to put in a torpedo attack.
Carry on, number 1.
But that she keeps being hit. That the Hipper's gunnery is pretty good, and even to the point where there's a shell.
Annoyingly so.
Yeah, the shell that wipes out the ship's surgeon's sickbay party.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is like something from. This is a bit on the nose. The writing here is a bit on the nose. She's hit again, and her radio antennas are smashed, and the ship's steam siren is jammed on.
So it's just screaming
throughout the rest of the action. We're sorry to report the loss of the first dog of the Second World War.
Yep.
Roop's dog, who was sitting between his legs on the bridge, killed by shrapnel, but the captain is untouched.
Yeah, it's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awful. It's too on the nose, that, though. I mean, if people quit the podcast as a result of a
Poor
dead dog
old
there,
Raeder.
I'd understand. It's the British public. Luckily, finally, the Admiralty draw the right conclusion that the Germans are going for Norway. It's on. And then, oh God, you do this bit because it's too depressing.
Yeah. So Glowworm's finished the vital work, and now she's got to, but she's in the middle of it. There's no escape, so she might as well make the best of it. So in 2 attacks on the wild seas, all 10 of the destroyers' torpedoes missed. And I should hasten to add that this is no reflection on poor gunnery on the part of the crew of HMS Glowworm. It's just incredibly difficult when the swell is as high as you really want. You don't have to have flat seas, but it makes it very, very difficult. His little ship's hit again. There's a large fire raging in the engine room, and this is where he has Yoda Nelson speaking in his ear and saying, "Ram her, ram her."
Oh, God.
And so clearly Glowworm's fate is sealed. There's no escape from this.
No.
But he just thinks, right, I'm going to ram it. So, burning and ripped by 8-inch shells, the glowworm painfully alters course towards the Hipper. And Roop turns to his helmsman on the battered bridge and calmly says, "Ram her." And Roop's little ship was still capable of 20 knots, and he sent her straight into the side of the Hipper. And in the violent seas, the German helmsman can't answer quickly enough to avoid the glowworm's charge. And the collision jams Glowworm's prow deep into the cruiser's starboard flank, just behind her anchor, ripping away some 130 feet of her armoured side.
Yes!
And the big cruiser survives, but she's listing and has more than 500 tons of icy North Sea waters weighing her down on a massive hull. So Glowworm drifts away from the wounded enemy, listing badly, a massive pool of black smoke pouring from her guts. A torrent of German shells hammered the sinking destroyer. Glowworm begins to settle by the bow as the fire in her engine grows increasingly worse. And even with his ship sinking beneath him, Petty Officer W.T.W. Scott, commanding the ship's last serviceable gun, is still firing and still hitting the Hipper. And Roop is calmly smoking a cigarette on his bridge, knowing that the time has come to save as many of his crew as possible. So he gives the order to abandon ship. "All right then, men, abandon ship." And his crew begin to seek the dubious safety of the icy water.
Well, and then she explodes and capsizes in the there and then. I mean, and those of a 145-man crew who are not already dead or badly wounded, they do what they can in the cold water, and obviously there's fuel oil on the surface of the sea. And Roop is now on the ship's keel.
And he turns to the petty officer and he goes, "Well, we're not going to be playing cricket again for a while." I mean,
yeah,
how marvellous.
Then Captain Helmut Heyer of the Hipper, he does a decent, and in fact the right thing, doesn't he? He heaves to,
Yep.
and he picks up as many of the survivors as he possibly can, even holding the ship downwind so that he can get the job done. And Roop was one of those who pulled himself onto the ropes, and it's awful, this, isn't he? And he's obviously shattered, he's exhausted, and he's halfway up, and a raging wave
just goes
sweeps up and plucks him off the ropes.
That's it.
And he's gone. 31 of Glowworm's crew survive. One survivor says, "Next thing I remember, I woke up in a bunk in the German sickbay, and there were a couple of German sailors rubbing me down with towels, getting all the oil off me. They congratulated us on a good fight. We must have injured a lot of them in battle, as I looked to another part of the sickbay, which was full of German sailors."
And Heyer later sends a message to the Admiralty via the International Red Cross, singling out Roop's gallantry. And it takes a while, but Roop is given a posthumous VC in July 1945.
What an incredible story. I'm feeling very manful, Jim.
Manful and moved.
Manful and moved. I've been moved in a manful way. By that,
It's an extraordinary. I mean, that is insanely courageous, isn't it?
that's got literally everything in it you could possibly want. Why would you
ever make anything up?
why are you not interested in the Second World War? Is, when you look someone in the eye and tell them this story. Incredible. Anyway, so there's confusion is the title of this episode. So it is all the picture's unclear, but at least
Most unclear.
At least Glowworm has let the Admiralty know
What is going on?
what seems to be going on.
Yeah.
And although the Hipper's, she's not out of action, but she's sort of limping along.
She's in big trouble, but she can still go.
Yeah. And at this point, the two Marinegruppe break up. Eins goes to Narvik, Zwei goes to Trondheim. And Admiral Forbes, in the meantime, has picked up Glowworm signals and so sends off Repulse and Penelope, cruisers, and 4 destroyers to try and make contact with the enemy, while Whitworth takes the Renown south to join with Evans and the rest of the cruiser force. So, I mean, basically, he's doing what he can, basically, to meet this German threat now.
So the weather is still absolutely filthy, and that is making any kind of offensive operations really, really difficult. And the Admiralty takes the unusual step of countermanding Forbes. This is Dudley Pound.
Yeah.
This is not good. And ordering 8 destroyers that have been mine-laying to rejoin Renown. Also, Whitworth is told that the previous day's intelligence about Narvik might have been true after all.
Oh.
So Whitworth then decides to break off his search and head back to Westfjord.
Okay. So Forbes is now absolutely convinced that the German invasion of Norway is underway.
Yeah, but you still got what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, this business of the Admiralty countermanding and issuing fresh orders.
Well, from London.
Yeah, I know.
They're not there.
Yeah. It's quite strange.
Anyway, but you know how no one ever mentions the Poles?
No one ever mentions the Poles.
Never talk about the
They
Poles.
never get talked about.
First blood is to them, Bo.
Oh, well, we're going to have to talk about the Poles then. Keep it brief, though, right?
They get really, really close.
Right.
And then they shoot them. Because they've got visceral hatred.
Yeah.
So, Commander-in-Chief of the Submarine Service is Vice Admiral Max Horton.
Right.
Later Western approaches, of course,
Yeah.
but this time he's a submarine man.
Am I right in thinking he's the only Jewish admiral in the high ranks of the Royal Navy?
You may well be. I don't know.
I think
I've
he
never
is.
thought about it.
I think he is.
Maybe.
Anyway.
He's a good egg.
Yeah.
He is one who has absolutely anticipated the German invasion. So he's been waiting and ready because they're all out at sea. His subs, and they're out in the North Sea and out in the narrows of Skagerrak and all the rest of it. And he's got 3 subs in those narrows, which is a bit between Denmark, Straits of Denmark, and Norway. And he's got a further 6 on order. Have been ordered to come and lie in wait at Oslo and Stavanger, but the Admiralty again has interfered and sent them to the Heligoland Bight. What are they doing? This is micromanagement of a very, very bad order.
Yeah.
And also, the British submarines are still at this time held by restricted warfare on shipping. I mean, this is absolutely bonkers because the Germans aren't.
Well,
And proved so on day 1 when they sunk the Athenia.
yeah, but we're the good guys.
Yeah,
That's what's going on here.
So what restricted warfare means is they've got to surface, challenge, give warning, let the crew abandon ship, and then you fire and sink it.
What? Oh, well. We win in the end.
Yeah. And then we'll also drop leaflets. I mean, come on, guys.
Throw
Show a bit of...
leaflets into the sea from the submarine. So on the 8th of April, midday,
Yep.
the Polish submarine Orzeł surfaces near Skagerrak to challenge a large steamer in the I mean, it's amazing they persuaded the Poles that they need to do this as well.
Yes. Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Isn't that incredible?
You're on our side, it's our rules.
Yeah, if you want us to refuel your submarine, old boy.
Play ball.
Yeah, play ball. It challenges a large steamer in the Skagerrak heading north, and this is identified as a German transport ship, the Rio de Janeiro.
Pretty German, is it?
No, it's peculiar that. And Orzeł orders it to evacuate the crew and passengers, and then torpedoes and sinks it.
Yep.
Great.
Good night, Charlie.
Yeah. Norwegian fishing boats and the destroyer help rescue the crowded lifeboats, which are full of German troops who are on their way to
Protect Bergen.
I think this is amazing as well. And this is announced by Reuters. But still, the British and Norwegian governments don't take this for what it is.
No.
And
you've got to say, what the heck, haven't you?
You really do. You really, really do. Well, you could
say worse.
You could say worse, Jim, but we're not going to. This is a family podcast. There might be people with their children in the car right now. What the heck? So the German government don't alert their coastal defences, nor do they signal mobilisation.
Why not?
Well,
I mean, I just want to shout codename Cromwell at them.
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck? I mean, what are they thinking?
Well, they're not thinking, are they? They don't want to believe it's true.
It can't be true.
Can't be true. Around the same time, HMS Trident is on patrol in the northern Skagerrak and intercepts the German tanker Posidonia with 8,000 tons of fuel on board for U-boats at Stavanger. They do the same thing. They challenge the ship. They let the crew get in the lifeboats and abandon the ship, and then they sink it.
Bye-bye.
So that's 8,000 tons of U-boat fuel.
But this Admiralty, which they're not going to get anywhere else. So the Admiralty management is really hard to justify, I think, or excuse. But the reason they are micromanaging is because of their paranoia about a breakout into the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Because however important Norway is, it's not as important as their sea lanes going across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It's the theory.
Yeah.
So at this moment, Forbes is still in the dark about the incident, about this attack, when a patrol flying boat reports an enemy battle cruiser, 2 smaller cruisers and 2 destroyers briefly in a gap in the cloud around 2 p.m. west-northwest of Trondheim and steering out to sea. This is the Hipper force, and it's obvious just manoeuvring at the time. So this is before the Glowworm incident.
Before Glowworm.
Yeah. And incredibly, the news of the Rio de Janeiro sinking is not passed on to Forbes either. So he doesn't get that news until 10:55 p.m. Zulu.
Zulu.
Yeah. So there's a massive opportunity for Forbes to head directly towards Trondheim is missed, largely due to the slow processing of intelligence.
Yeah.
And the Admiralty stuck in their bunkers in London, not drawing the right conclusions. And on the flimsy detail of a brief sighting of German warships by a Sunderland. I mean, it's just not good enough, is it?
No. But the second cruiser squadron, if they'd been dispatched at the right moment, they'd have got to
intercept the force.
Intercept
That'd
the
been a
force.
massive great ding dong.
Yeah.
And just think how the Germans would have been fighting with a hand behind their back because they're covered with troops.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking, we can't kill all these troops, so we have to go and dodge all these shells.
Yeah.
We have to manoeuvre out of the way, which is then going to make them more vulnerable.
Yeah.
They'd be out. They would have been slaughtered, I'm sure.
Yeah. And Forbes is also he's not got any carriers because Courageous had been sunk the previous year. Ark Royal and Glorious are both in the Med. The only one at all local is Furious, but she's in the Clyde and she's not fully operational. And even with their walruses, their shag bats.
Well, I can't see much because it's it's 10 cloud and all the rest.
The weather's too bad. And on the afternoon of the 8th, the 8th of April is a vastly consequential day, isn't it? Forbes is still steering northwest on the.
So just to reiterate, that is away from Norway.
Yeah, he's steering northwest. Yes, he's steering away from Norway. During the Bismarck chase, we had a lot of steering in the wrong direction, didn't we? Steaming off that way. Yeah. We're going this way now. And then in the afternoon, the Admiralty tells.
It's sort of just starting to feel a bit habitual, isn't it?
Yeah, or
Come on, boys, you're better than this.
Yeah, usual, isn't it? It's sort of usual. Anyway, the Admiralty gives Forbes a message that Plan R4, they tell him in the afternoon, it's been abandoned.
Well, I think that's sensible at this stage.
Yeah, and that the first cruiser squadron is now disembarking all its troops at Rosyth.
But obviously, if it's disembarking troops, then it can't be out at sea.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some argument about who's.
Yeah, traditionally in all the books, it says that Churchill gave this order without consulting the Admiralty and just did it. But actually, it's not true at all.
Right.
It was entirely Pound.
Right.
It was not me.
Yep.
It was him.
And the troops, of course, if they got to Trondheim ahead of the Germans, they'd have been able to seize it.
Yeah, and Trondheim is one of the ones that's really north. So it's Narvik, then Trondheim, then
Yeah.
Bergen, then Stavanger.
But
on a kind of north to south axis.
That's a counterfactual we can't entertain. And Admiral Evans takes down his flag from the Aurora and sails onto Scapa Flow.
Not needed anymore.
Yep. So the whole of
you can sit this one out, Teddy.
Yeah, the whole of that invasion fleet is then given to Forbes, including the 18th Cruiser Squadron. Right. And Forbes is annoyed. He thinks that had they set sail, had they gone, had they invaded, they'd have been successful, and they could have got to Trondheim and probably even Stavanger. And there's an airfield at Stavanger, which is the crucial bit, isn't it, for building people up.
Yeah.
So there's another missed chance here. So the Allied, just as Allied plans were characterised by dither, Allied action is characterised by dither as well.
Yeah.
Except for Lieutenant Commander Roop. Anyway, Forbes is also getting news that the Gneisenau or the Blücher, plus some cruisers and destroyers, have got into the Kattegat, which is the channel leading into Bergen.
Yep.
So he thinks, right, okay, that's where the action is.
Yep.
We'll head that way. And he turns south at 8 p.m. But he's been,
thank goodness.
I mean, it's just this old business.
No,
wrong way, turn round, about turn.
Yeah.
And he knows he needs to get everyone together to prevent successful landings on the west coast. But once again, I mean, it's just the Admiralty saying they intervene and annul his orders.
I think it's fair to say that Forbes and Pound do not see eye to eye.
They don't see eye to eye, do they? Yeah. Although Pound seems to have seen eye to eye with nobody so far.
No.
In this story, and so he's ordered to take the first and second cruiser squadrons east to rendezvous with the rest of the home fleet 100 miles east of the coast at dawn on the 9th of April, rather than sweep between Bergen and Stavanger.
Yeah, and again, it means that Forbes has got a hand tied behind his back. I mean, Forbes actually is pretty good.
Yeah.
And he is not being allowed to handle his forces as Commander-in-Chief of the Home Fleet in the way that he thinks he should, which is, it's unforgivable. It's really bad meddling.
Yeah.
It's not how you do things.
No.
Anyway, by dawn on the 9th of April, the German assault forces are now, all 6 of them, are now nearing their objectives and pretty much dead on time, which is poor from the Royal Navy's point of view.
Yeah.
And at dawn, Admiral Whitworth, who's the mind leading in the Leads, he's doing the mining operation up near Narvik. His force of HMS Renown and the 9 destroyers, they spot the Gneisenau and Scharnhorst and a destroyer force in the gales, rain and stormy seas off Narvik, off the Westfjord. And both sides immediately go into action. And the British destroyers are struggling to keep up, but the collective weight of the aggressive British fire persuades the Germans that they're facing a much stronger force than is actually the reality. And so they disengage and skulk off south. And by this time, Gneisenau's fire support system has been destroyed by British shells, while the Scharnhorst has had both its forward turrets flooded by heavy seas. It's actually not really designed brilliantly for this kind of weather.
No.
But further to the south, much further to the south, the invasion is now underway. And this is the extraordinary story of the Blücher, which is another heavy cruiser, like the Admiral Hipper, which is heading up towards Oslo. And this is just extraordinary.
Yes, because they haven't mobilised, the Norwegians. They haven't authorised their navy to open fire on foreign warships. Either.
No.
However, fear not. There are some Norwegians who aren't going to wait to be told.
No.
And the first of these is a fellow called Vilding Olsen, who's an officer in the Norwegian Navy Reserve. He's the captain of a small patrol boat called the Pole 3. 214 tons, a whaler, basically, which is stationed at the entrance to Oslofjord. Now, he sees, this is so cool. He sees these enemy ships looming, the hulks of these gigantic enemy ships. It's around 11 o'clock at night on the 8th of April. And he challenges them.
Who goes there?
Gets no reply.
Yep.
So goes into action with his lone gun. And the
Germans fired back, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. And Pole 3 is overwhelmed very quickly. She's on fire. Olsen is mortally wounded, but not before he too has rammed and badly damaged the German torpedo boat Albatross.
Yes.
Ramming speed.
Well, he's run straight into Marine Group 5.
Yeah.
Fünf.
Yeah.
Commanded by Admiral Oskar Kummetz on the Blücher, and alongside a second heavy cruiser, the Lutzow, and the light cruiser Emden. And Kummetz, having got past Pole 3, pushes on towards the shore defence islands of Vrouwe and Bolern, where the defenders merely shine searchlights and fire warning shots, but otherwise let them pass. That's not good, is it?
No.
A controlled minefield has been planned by the Norwegians just up ahead, but the Norwegians haven't got around to laying it, so they just...
We planned to lay a minefield,
Yeah, we haven't done it.
Yeah, we did.
So Kummetz's force passes on through and then pauses to transfer assault troops into smaller craft to attack the Rayo and Ballern from the rear. And others are also detached to attack the undefended naval base at Horten. And only one Norwegian ship there, the mine layer, the Olaf Tryggvason, which opens fire and forces the torpedo boat Albatross to completely retire. Albatross is getting it in the neck and it's had enough, really, frankly. Yeah. Anyway, then Kummetz's forces pushes on until they reach the critical Drøbak Narrows, which I've sailed through.
Right. Excellent. And are they very narrow?
They're pretty narrow, yeah.
They're pretty narrow. It's 600 yards wide, so that's nothing.
It's not very wide.
No. And there's 2 islands in the middle.
Yeah, it's a third of a mile, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a fortress on these islands, Oscarsborg Island.
Yes. And it's a big this is a major thing. And so basically you've got this island in the middle of it, and you've got to go one side. So it's really, really narrow. And these are the, it is ridiculous that you would send a heavy cruiser through this. Because if it's manned and they're waiting, you're going to be toast.
You've had it.
You've had it.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember just sailing through this, just thinking, what were they thinking? But what they're thinking is they haven't got any choice in the matter.
Yeah.
It's been signed off by Adolf.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Germans are, they are aware of the defences here, but they haven't. They just think, oh well, what can we do? We just got to go for it. But why would you have your brandest, newest, heaviest cruise there? Wouldn't you send, a few smaller vessels there first?
Well, no, because you don't know what you're doing. You're the Kriegsmarine.
Yeah, but that's what you'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you'd think.
And if in fact then you land people ashore and you attack it from shore first. So you don't risk your heavy cruisers. But anyway, the Blücher is so new it hasn't raised full steam. Hasn't been worked up. It's got a largely new crew who are untested and all the rest of it. And the fort does open fire at point-blank range with its 28-centimetre guns, and the first strikes hit the Blücher's aircraft hangar, starting an uncontrollable blaze immediately. Another shell then damages the steering gear, sending the ship towards the shore at Caholm. More shells hit it. So basically the ship's just gone... And it's just sat there, stuck, can't do anything. And the ship goes to a standstill, being absolutely pummeled. Then the fortress fires several torpedoes, because it's got torpedo tubes there on the fort, which also hit. I mean, they can't miss. They can't possibly miss. And of course, because it's not great big, huge swell in the narrow confines of the fjord. That's right. The torpedoes is absolutely amazing because there's all these sort of elderly, reservists in the Norwegian Navy, and they've just spent the last 15 years polishing these torpedoes, so they kind of glide through the water. They're polished brass, so absolutely no problem at all. And they hit the main engine, starting yet more fires, and the Blücher is listing and burning. There's frantic efforts to save her, but to no avail. And in the more earlier hours of the 9th of April, it's toast basically. The blaze spread through to a magazine for the 105 or the 10.5 centimetre guns, and at 6:30 a.m. the magazine blows up. What do you do?
Abandon ship, Jim.
Yep, it's the only thing you can do. And soon after that, the Blücher capsizes and sinks at 7:23 a.m. with a loss of more than 1,000 men.
Jeebus.
Meanwhile, the Lutzow has also been hit at least 11 times, badly damaged, and with the Emden they retreat back down the fjord. So the troops are then landed on the eastern side, still some way from Oslo. These then attack the fort, eventually forcing its surrender later that afternoon, after which Group 5 is then able to continue. But this action does help delay the assault on Oslo, which allows the royal family to escape along with the nation's gold reserves, which is a story we must do one of these days. It's absolutely incredible, that story. Yeah. And in the meantime, the Oslo is captured by the Fallschirmjäger around midday, along with that crucial airfield at Fornebu, now the Oslo International Airport. It's nuts. Well, honestly, I remember sailing through these narrows, the Drabot Narrows, looking at the fort and just thinking, this is absolutely insane to try and send a heavy cruiser up through here. Yeah. A couple of destroyers. Why can't you send a couple of destroyers out front and test the water? Mm.
It's absolutely
insane.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Marinegruppe 4, Group 4, not to be confused with Group 4 Securitas, was headed to Kristiansand on the southwest of Norway. And they're led by the cruiser Karlsruhe. And Group 4 is protected by thick fog, so they're able to sort of arrive by stealth.
Yep.
They get to the entrance of the fjord at 3:45 in the morning, but it's not until 6 that they dare risk coming in, see what they could do.
Well, there's rocks sticking up and all the rest of it, and you don't want to be doing that if you can't see anything.
Yeah. And they then receive extremely heavy, accurate fire from Norwegian shore batteries. So the Karlsruhe turns back.
Yep.
Then the Luftwaffe are called in to bomb the batteries. So that doesn't actually work.
No.
So Group 4 have to retreat a second time. I mean, this isn't going very well, is it, for the Germans?
No, not at all.
And Captain Raeder on the Karlsruhe, he attempts to land troops to attack the batteries, but there's more fog. So it's not until 11 in the morning that fog actually disperses. And at this point, this is some skullduggery here.
Oh, appalling.
The battery commander gets a message: British and French destroyers coming to your help. Do not fire. He believes this and stands his men down. And of course, it's German ships. It's a ruse.
It's a ruse, the Schwein.
It's absolute 100% Schweinhund behaviour. That.
Yeah, total
Schweinhund behaviour.
British people don't behave like that.
No, we absolutely would never do anything like that at all, James. Okay. And by 5 p.m, the town and its defences have been overrun, but chiefly because of this absolutely ghastly, dastardly ungentlemanly act.
Yeah, poorly.
Then at Stavanger, the Norwegian destroyer, the Sleipner, had picked up a radio warning from the Pole 3.
Yep, down in the Oslofjord.
That means that when a merchant ship approaches the port, the captain of the Sleipner opens fire and sinks her. And this is one of these German... Yeah, good. Finally. This is one of these German Trojan horse ships, supply vessels. So that's banjaxed.
Yep.
That plan. That ship also had a load of flat guns on board.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, for when they catch this airfield at Stavanger. And the Germans do then seize the airfield later in the day. Fallschirmjäger come in and take it. But this is all unravelling, isn't it?
Yeah.
The German naval component has to be said.
Yep. It is, but they are getting all the men aboard on shore eventually, without too much interruption for the Royal Navy, unfortunately. I mean, you have to say that this whole thing is unbelievably high risk, which of course is exactly what Raeder's been worried about. Yeah. But on the other hand, the Royal Navy can't be absolutely everywhere, and intelligence at the start of the war is really poor. And the flurry of signals and messages is just not being effectively processed or passed on. And so on one level, it's not really surprising that Forbes is literally all at sea, and it's not being helped by the fact that there's basically two chiefs. There's Forbes at sea, who's commander-in-chief of the Home Fleet, and there's the Admiralty. Yeah. And the Admiralty needs to kind of sort of back off, really. But anyway, and also, of course, the weather's
diabolical. Yeah. You've had rough sea and fog. So in the open sea, gunnery is very difficult. In fog,
so the Germans are very lucky on that front.
Because the fog helps them at Bergen with Marines Gripper 3. If it had been clear, they'd have been seen coming, but they're not. As they're clearing the southwest corner of Norway, they aren't seen.
And you have to think, well, Vice Admiral Frederick Edward Collins' second cruiser squadron is only 60 miles away at this point, which is not very far, really. So 2 cruisers and 11 destroyers should have made easy work of Group 3. Could have absolutely ravaged it. Again, for that problem that their Group 3's got lots and lots of troops on board, makes it very difficult. Because those troop ships are underarmed and slow and all the rest of it. But anyway, they're not spotted. So the fog clears only well after darkness, and that enables Group 3 to approach the Oslofjord on the approach to Bergen at 2 a.m. They're lit up by searchlights and challenged, but the KMS Köln, a light cruiser, identifies herself as HMS Cairo. I mean, how much skullduggery and swinehund behaviour can you have?
Full schwein. These Germans are absolute rotten.
And so he's allowed to pass. I mean, it's the oldest trick in the book, isn't it? God. Then it's challenged at 4:30 a.m. by a Norwegian destroyer, and the Germans reply, "I am proceeding to Bergen for a short visit," and allowed to pass.
Oh, short visit. Come on in then. He's just stopping for a short visit, Jim. Don't worry, we haven't been mobilised or ordered to fire at anybody. And they stop at Fjord near the entrance to Bergen to disembark troops, and they attack the shore battery at Kvarven to the south of the town. And then they press on and they reach Bergen. Although the guys at Kvarven, before they're overpowered, they have fired 3 8-inch shells at the cruiser Königsberg, smashed her up a bit.
Big way.
But by 9 o'clock in the morning, Bergen has fallen.
And then finally Group 2, which is Admiral Hipper and her destroyers, which is still damaged after the attack by the Glowworm, but opting for speed and steaming straight into Trondheim at 25 knots. So the shore gunners aren't well trained, they struggle to hone their searchlights, and the entire German squadron gets through before the gunners can find their rage. So the coastal forts hold out for 2 days, but Trondheim itself surrenders without a shot fired. But what of Narvik, with which we started this series? This was unquestionably Raeder's biggest gamble. The assault group had the greatest distance to travel, was the most vulnerable, and arguably the least well defended for potentially the most vital prize. There's no heavy ships scared, there's no cruisers, there's no Panzerschiffe, and this is the all-important railway and port that supplies the iron ore mines of northern Sweden. So how are they going to fare, Al? Will Captain Warburton-Lee's understrength force of destroyers manage to take on Commodore Bonte's destroyer force? What do you think?
Well, I mean, we're looking at a Royal Navy whose attitude is to ram the Admiral Hipper. Exactly.
Use the fleet.
It's only going to go one way, I think it's fair to say. Well, and as we've seen, there's been this dash versus dither towards action in Norway. The Germans dashing to it in an ill-conceived manner. The British finally making up their minds. And purely coincidentally, for basically the same day. It's absolutely extraordinary that also shows how naval operations are bound by weather and possible tide and ice and all this in this part of the world, and moon and all this. Anyway, we haven't quite got to Narvik yet, but we had our extraordinary dramatic encounter of the Glowworm ramming the Admiral Hipper, and then I'm going to call it idiotic loss of the Blücher.
Don't forget the poles.
Yeah, and the poles, of course. Yes, we haven't forgotten the poles in the Orzeł. But basically, the stage is now set for this potentially war-changing clash between unequal opponents, because the Germans have basically put all their chips up onto the
Norwegian basket.
Exactly, Norwegian basket. That's right. So it's the morning of the 9th of April, 1940, Jim.
Admiral Sir Charles Forbes, Commander-in-Chief of the British Home Fleet. He is no longer in any doubt at all about what's going on, and he is absolutely ruining the massive missed opportunities.
Yeah.
All this worry about kind of breaking through the economic blockade and marauding into the Atlantic and all the rest of it. No, that's not what this is about. This is the invasion of Norway, and they could have absolutely hammered it. But you can't undo what's done. You can only make the best of what's in front of you. So his forces are 90 miles off the Norwegian coast between Bergen and Stavanger, and at 6:30 a.m. he's joined by the 18th Cruiser Squadron of Manchester and Southampton and 7 further destroyers. And he's thinking about what to do next.
And in London, the chiefs of staff they're now scratching their heads about what to do. They met at 6 o'clock that morning. There's only one battalion, which is the 1st Scots Guards, so really rather snazzy soldiers, are currently embarked in transport on the Clyde. They're ready to leave immediately for Narvik, having stood down an invasion force anyway, with Plan R4 abandoned previously. So British chiefs decide they've got to make the best of the situation, and what they're going to do is prevent a firm German toehold at Bergen and Trondheim. They've got to make that happen. Stop the Germans from doing that, and they issue orders to attack any German warships and transports at both ports and control the approaches to both. So they're finally waking up to what's going on.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
But it would have been better if they hadn't been late.
Perfectly put, Jim. And at 10:15 that morning, the Admiralty approves a suggestion from Forbes. I mean,
Finally they're agreeing with Forbes.
This is the idea that he has to make suggestions and wait for them to be signed off. I mean,
just do it.
The delay that could fall into while people scratch their heads in London. And Admiralty Arch. So his suggestion is to send a naval force to Bergen, and they go, okay, fine. 4 cruisers and destroyers are detached for this purpose. But the weather's really bad is the thing that's
terrible.
Been a big part of this story. Severe gales, very strong wind, and the destroyers can only manage 16 knots, so they're not going to get to Bergen before nightfall. And then news arrives of enemy cruisers at Bergen, so they sack that off. It's too dangerous.
Too late.
Yeah, too late, too dangerous now. Too difficult. If they pressed on, they would have found the Königsberg, which has been smashed up, and the destroyer Bremser. So they'd also bumped into the Köln, which was sailing after dark. So there's a good opportunity, actually, to give the Kriegsmarine a bloody nose.
Nelson on the shoulder has vanished off back up to perch in the pearly gates again. Is not breathing down them.
He is unimpressed. England expects, to forget about it.
Yeah.
That's what he's thinking at the moment. Yeah. But one of the things that the Royal Navy have got that the Germans don't have is air capability with their carriers. And this is, your regular listener will know that we very much fell in love with the Fleet Air Arm not so long ago with the raid on Taranto, and then the incredible efforts in the chase for the Bismarck and the Channel Dash. The Royal Navy, and we did a brief history of the Fleet Air Arm, didn't we, to preface that swordfish thing. The Navy's fully bought into the idea of naval air power. They are absolutely pioneering in this.
Yep.
And so what we're going to have is an air attack to come. Then we're going to get these skuas coming in, but there is a problem with air, isn't there?
Yeah, because Antonio, the Germans hold all the A's because they've got that crucial airfield near Stavanger. Yeah. And having got Bergen and Stavanger and Bergen are quite comparatively close to one another. Bergen's a bit further north. They're going to make sure they hold on to them, and they're going to do that by relentlessly hammering any British ships that appear off the coast. And they get, and as they're calling off this attack on Bergen in the afternoon, so down come the Stukas and Junkers and what have you. And Furious could have come across, but the one aircraft carrier that's around, but it's considered too precious.
Yeah,
they're happy to take her out to sea, but they don't want to take her off the coast of Norway.
It's extraordinary, this, isn't it?
In this weather and blah blah blah.
Because the Royal Navy has stolen a march on not entirely the rest of the world, but they are well ahead on this on using air power, and they don't.
And if you're planning an operation in Norway, why haven't you brought up Art Royal and illustrious.
Because there's still this lassitude, which I actually think is a couple of years to run on the British side of things.
So anyway, there they are. There's battleships, cruisers, lots of destroyers, and one of those who's there is Captain Philip Vian, our old great friend of the show.
Yeah.
And he's aboard HMS Cossack, part of the 4th Destroyer Flotilla, and one of his ships, HMS Gurkha, leaves the cruiser screen to get a clearer line of sight for his anti-aircraft fire. He thinks, I'm not having this, the captain of Gurkha. He says, I can't see anything, I'm going to go for it. And so he gets clear and gets absolutely pummeled. And the ship has to be abandoned and then sinks. And Vian writes about it, goes, the experiences of the 9th of April convinced Admiral Forbes that in the absence of fighter protection, the fleet could not operate so far south. An attack on Bergen would need to be left to aircraft, while further south again, our submarines would have to be charged with the task of disrupting the enemy's supply routes across the Skagerrak and Kattegat. Well, he's right by this point.
Yeah.
Because the opportunity was on the 7th and the 8th.
Yeah.
Now it's the 9th, and the Germans have got that airfield, and it's no longer safe. So that means a major rethink. But there's nothing wrong with them taking the north and establishing a redoubt up there.
Yeah, because they don't need
taking Narvik.
They don't need an air power answer. I mean,
No.
it is remarkable that
It's quite clear.
yeah.
Some just very brief,
Yeah.
quick, decisive, clear thinking is what is required.
Yeah, but that would not be characteristic of the run of events.
Trondheim and Narvik are out of range of the Luftwaffe, but they can be reached by aircraft from Orkney and Shetland.
I mean, the Germans are ahead when it comes to dive bombing, but they do have the Navy have got the Blackburn Skua.
Yes, but it's kind of it's a dual purpose, and it's kind of not very good at either, which is the problem.
That's the problem the Fleet Air Arm have, is their aircraft all have to be able to do everything. There are so many moments in this where you think if they'd just thought a little bit differently.
So there is yet another kind of bit of dithering where they change the plan again, and from now on it's going to be bombers are going to be sent over to Bergen. The Wellingtons and Hamptons are not accurate at the best of times, certainly not at this stage of the war.
Not against
Great
shipping.
at dropping leaflets over Wilhelmshaven. So they send over to hit Bergen. One of their number is shot down for absolutely 0 strikes on any of the German aircraft. So, overall, we have to say, Blücher aside, damage to their ships aside.
Yeah. They've won the 9th.
Invasion day is the Germans.
They've won the 9th of April. And Oslo's fallen. Denmark has capitulated in the meantime, and they've got airfields.
The 2 key airfields at Fornebu in Oslo, Sola in Stavanger, and they've got troops ashore at all of the 6 landings.
But at the start of this series, we made a promise that we were only going to really talk about the naval battle, and we weren't going to get bogged down in the relentless, sad, grinding disappointment of the land campaign.
And when it comes to submarine warfare, it's not all about U-boats.
No. So here we go. The Royal Navy's submarine assets, which of course there are more of them than the Kriegsmarine have.
Yeah, there's more.
Even though there's not very many. At 1:30 on the 9th of April, the Royal Navy submarine Sunfish, which is patrolling the Kattegat, spots the German steamer Amasis. And they're all ready to shoot, but they're not allowed to, because they've got to surface and issue a challenge and say, do you mind if we sink your ship? If you don't mind awfully, oh boy, we have to sink your ship. But just as they're about to surface, just as they're about to go through the procedure,
make it up.
Yeah, I know. Signalman comes over to Lieutenant Colonel Slaughter, and
Aptly named.
I mean, normative determinism.
Signal, sir. Just come in. German merchant ships, east of 8 degrees east, may be sunk without warning.
To which Slaughter says, "Splendid signalman, fire one." Boom!
And down she goes. The Amasis goes down. And on the same day, the Truant, another Royal Navy sub, spots the Karlsruhe.
The cruiser.
Yeah, heading home at 6:56 p.m. and opens fire.
Without warning.
Yeah, because he doesn't need to make a warning. And the Karlsruhe dodges the first salvo, but's hit by the second. The torpedo strikes aft, wrecking the steering gear and causing a big hole in the keel, and down the Karlsruhe goes.
Yep. Good night, Charlie.
Yeah.
The Truant is then depth charged for 19 hours.
Yeah, no good deed goes unpunished, right?
But gets away with it.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, that.
And there's exciting news, because there's RNAS station Hatston, which I went to visit the other day, the runway's still there. There's a big hill coming just one side of it. Yeah. So, you don't want to be landing at Hatston in a fog. No. That's for sure. It's just off Kirkwall. It's literally just off the northwest of Kirkwall on the Orkney, main island of Orkney. And there are 2 squadrons of skewers there, Blackburn skewers, commanded by Captain R.T. Partridge, RM, and Lieutenant W.P. Lucy, RN. Yep. The senior observer is Lieutenant Commander Hare. So he's been loaned to Coastal Command at Lossiemouth, which is near Inverness, near Elgin. And Hare has been over Bergen early on the 9th of April and seen 3 Kriegsmarine cruisers. So he spotted the home fleet on the return leg and signalled to them what he'd spotted. And he arrives back at Lossiemouth and immediately is bundled into a transport and taken back to Hatston. You're needed up there. Because his information that he'd passed on has been then passed on to Hatston and has prompted Partridge to get permission for his 2 skewer squadrons to take off for a dawn attack on Bergen. And by the time they get there and back, they're only just in range for the skewers. And the safe return is entirely dependent on accurate navigation in very bad weather.
Yeah.
Are you sensing trouble?
I am, James. Yes. I mean, this is the interesting thing about fleet air arm aircraft is the observer is the navigator. They're called observers in the fleet air arm, but that's the navigator, because the requirement for fleet air arm aircraft, even when they're flying full Mars off carriers as a fighter, it's a 2-man crew. It's basically a ferry battle that's been sort of rejigged, because you have to have a navigator because you can't just fly up the Oxford to Bicester railway line. If you're lost, you've got to be able to navigate in the wide open space of the ocean. So I think they have in place what they need to be able to do this job properly, but it's extremely challenging.
It's extremely challenging, and that is precisely why they want Hare, because he's done it.
He's done it.
And he's done it there and back and successfully.
Yeah.
So 15 skewers head off before dawn on the 10th of April. What do you think? Are they going to manage to reach Bergen?
Well, I don't know. But in the meantime, we need to
get back to our old friend, Captain Bernard Warburton-Lee.
Yes, who's looking forward to his marmalade. And he's sailed into
if he gets it.
He sailed into the Erdford Fjord at around the same time as these skewers are setting off.
Yeah.
And we left him at the very start of the first episode with this signal to the Admiralty that he is going to attack at dawn. And he wants surprise, and he's got the high tide that he needs to make the most of, because he'll
needs to glide over any mines.
Increase his chance of dodging mines.
But it's a dilemma for Whitworth, Admiral Whitworth in Repulse, because he's not with Warburton-Lee's destroyers at the time of the exchange of the Admiralty, but he's been following the signals, and Warburton-Lee's flotilla are part of his force. Yeah. But they're doing other stuff. And he's wondering whether he should send one of his cruisers to go to give, what would be a considerable extra weight of firepower. Yeah. But by doing so, of course, that would have delayed the operation, but also a cruiser is much, much larger than a destroyer. It's whopping in the narrow confines of the Oslofjord. Yeah. And that would be very high risk if there are indeed U-boats there. So he decides to let Warburton be and attack alone with his now 5 destroyers. Despite them being ships that are smaller and notably less heavily gunned than those of the Kriegsmarine. So they'd be on their own, trusting to superior experience, skill and surprise.
That's an interesting decision, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a tough one.
On Whitworth's part. But I suppose...
Cool.
But I suppose,
we wait up.
Yeah.
Which I could do, or I don't.
Well, and he must have great confidence in Warburton-Lee.
He's an old sea dog.
So Warburton-Lee on the Hardy leads the way, followed by Hunter and then Hotspur. And they're nearly hit by a fully lit up passenger steamer that passes in the early morning.
Morning.
Crikey.
All the passengers waving. There's another ship.
And on your left, you'll see HMS Hardy, followed by HMS Hunter.
Followed by 2 as yet unidentified British destroyers. Yes, that's exactly what it's like.
But basically, by dawn's early light, they're 15 miles from Narvik and well into the
and it's so atmospheric there. It's just brilliant. The mountains rising either side, the kind of inky dark fjord, bits of snow, still on the mountains. Then rain, then snow flurries, absolutely driving wind from the east coming across the bridge, open bridges of these class destroyers. I mean, you can just picture it.
But Jim, a bunch of destroyers sailing down a fjord, you'd spot that dead easy, right?
You thought so.
You'd have thought so. However...
Well, do you remember there's this one... So Bonte has sent off one destroyer to sort of keep watch at the mouth of the Oslofjord, and they were going to take it in turns. But the Raeder, which is the first one that's been sent down there, takes it upon itself to just return after a while. Because I've had enough of this. My replacement should be arriving any minute now. It's my turn to go and get some kip and oil. So he's already left, and incredibly, the British flotilla are less than a mile behind the Raeder as it sails back towards Narvik, hidden by snow and mist, and the crew of the Raeder never spot them.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, they're literally just tailing it.
They do find out pretty quickly, because at 4:30, as Donald McIntyre's account said, at 4:30 in the morning, the fighting starts. Yeah. And the British open fire, and they strike Bonte's.
This is right into Narvik. It's like a little, small, narrow, little sort of inlet.
Yeah,
at the head of the fjord.
And they've got in as close as they can, and they start on Bonte's flagship, the Hyde Camp, which is at anchor, and she's struck by a torpedo fired by Hardy.
And explodes.
It kills nearly everyone on board, including the Commodore.
Yeah.
Bonte
so that's him. He's gone.
Yep. Next is the Schmidt, also sinking as a result of a torpedo strike. And I mean, they're basically they're anchored up. They're sitting ducks.
Can't move.
It's dead easy. Yep. And several other merchant vessels are also hit in the collateral. As it were.
So the Raeder's just arrived, going, great, get heads down, get some brecker. Yeah. Anchors down, boom.
And she's straddled by shells and repeatedly struck and catches fire. So they have achieved, Warburton-Lee has achieved total surprise, and is reaping the rewards of that.
So that's 2 of the 10 destroyers sunk and 1 in really, really bad shape.
And the 3 leading British destroyers, they stay in and around Narvik.
Hardy Hunter Hostile.
For the best part of an hour.
Hotspur, rather. Yeah.
Doing...
Just shooting stuff up.
Dishing this out. And there's still mist, there's still low cloud shrouding the fjord and the surrounding mountains, hiding the inlets and the smaller fjords.
Yeah, you just can't really see them.
Yeah, you can't see what's going on. And there's obviously lots of smoke from the fires and the gunfire. And at Warburton-Lee, he's been expecting to encounter 6 enemy warships. And by his reckoning, they've done for 5. 2 have been sunk. The Raeder was being hammered, is on fire. And the Kuna has had her engines put out of action from a torpedo strike, and the Ludemann has a gun turret destroyed and is on fire.
Yeah, so they are in really big trouble. That's half of them gone.
Within an hour.
And so at around 5:30, Warburton-Lee orders the leading 3 ships to pull back out of Narvik and steam back down the fjord at a leisurely 15 knots, roughly half their maximum speed. And that's a mistake, because there have been 10 destroyers, not 6. And this is why he thinks he's all right, because he knows there's more than 1 and has been reported as 6, but he's not anticipating 10. So 3 have been lying up in the Herjangsfjord, which is sort of is a spur off the main Oslofjord off to the kind of northeast. And it's quite a sort of chunky inlet finger. And not until 5:15 had they been alerted to the attack, which is incredible, really. I mean, what are they all doing? I mean, you'd have thought that the sound would resonate around the mountains and, really, really easily. But anyway, be that as it may, they immediately weigh anchor, set off in pursuit, which means they're soon enough able to catch up as the British are withdrawing. And as soon as they're spotted, Warburton-Lee orders them to increase speed to 30 knots. So the chase is now on. But the 3 German ships, the Kölner, the Gieser, and the Zenker, had yet to refuel, of course, because the Trojan horses have only got 1 of them, the Jan Velen. They haven't got the other 2. And they're almost empty tanks, so they're not be able to sail far. So it's a kind of, it's Hardy, Hunter, and Hotspur going to be able to get away before they're within proper range. Anyway, a running battle is now underway, both kind of exchanging fire and hits. And it would have been okay had it not been for the last 2 ships, which is the Georg Thiele and the von Arnim, which are lurking off Balingen. Balingen is this little short, stubby inlet, like the end of a thumb, which is to the south of the Oslofjord, only a few miles away from, sort of 5 or 6 miles away from Narvik. and they're able to strike the British destroyers as they steam past. And because of the earlier snow and mists, they'd remained unseen by Warburton-Lee and his flotilla as they'd come up the Oslofjord. So they just haven't spotted them. And they're there. And now the German 5-inch guns accurately straddle the Hardy, Hunter and Hotspur and then start striking home.
So Warburton-Lee's signal is keep engaging the enemy. That's his last signal, his last thought, really. Moments later, a shell strikes Hardy's bridge, killing pretty much everyone there, badly wounding the rest, and including the captain. Oh, God. The paymaster, Lieutenant George Stanning, has one foot badly mangled and shrapnel up his leg, but he still manages to drag himself from the bridge to the wheelhouse and take command, despite having no practical experience in the role. But that's the spirit of the Royal Navy, right? The ship's engines are seizing, and it's clear to him that with the captain, navigator, coxswain all dead or badly wounded, the only course is to ram the shore. It's another ramming episode, and save as many of the crew as possible. Meanwhile, the ship's still firing. It is still engaging the enemy, repeatedly hitting their Georg Thiele and the von Arnim and the other ships in pursuit, even as her keel strikes the shore.
I've been to that very spot and it was so thrilling. It's very stony and pebbly there, and there's big rocks and stuff, so you can see how that would just absolutely rip through there. If you're going there at kind of 20 knots.
Yeah, you're going flat out. Yeah, and the Hunter and the Hotspur are also severely hit, but they also carry on returning fire. The Hotspur been severely damaged and was unable to avoid colliding with the Hunter. Oh God, we've a blue-on-blue ramming incident now. They begin spinning.
It goes in and they just start going
spinning round and round in the fjord, with more fire pouring in onto it. And on the Hunter, the bridge was also struck, killing everyone in there and clearly doomed. It's super dramatic. Hotspur has done better though. She gets herself out of the sort of fatal embrace of the Hunter and then zigzags clear. Pretty soon she's clear of the fire from the enemy ships at Balingen, while those in pursuit from the Herjungsfjord, they have to turn back because they won't
run out of fuel.
They're not properly oiled. And that means that 3 of Warburton-Lee's little fleet,
second flotilla,
can escape and get away, but the Hunter sinks off the headland at Balingen, and the crew that are rescued by the Germans.
Most of them come off.
Yeah. But 10 die of basically of hypothermia. What's really striking about this is we've talked about the Royal Navy. There's a lot more ships. They've got more of everything. They've got more experience. But in the end, when you fight, it's like this. It's this absolutely shit or bust kind of fighting where every ship that goes down is like we talked about the Blücher, 1,000 people. It's half a brigade of soldiers.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about, this is the thing, that you can be on a destroyer and you never see any action at all, or you see action but you never get hit, or you're just lucky or whatever. But if you are in action, and we saw this, didn't we, with the pursuit of the Bismarck and the sinking of the Hood and everything, the violence just can be catastrophic. And it can be so sudden and so quick, and your opportunity to get off safely when you're kind of, all around you are kind of incredibly cold waters is very, very small. Which is why the decision to ram the Hardy on the shore is such a good, smart decision, because it means at least people can jump off onto the shore, at the very least, anyway. At
Narvik, the surviving crew from Hardy have managed to get ashore, although Warburton-Lee, he's brought off the ship, but he dies soon after of his wounds. So he'll never get that marmalade. They walk 15 miles up to Balingen, where there are no German troops, but there is a small Norwegian cottage hospital, and here the Norwegians very courageously look after the wounded and help the survivors and feed and dry out the able survivors.
And you think, well, how can that be with all those Gebirgsjäger in Narvik? But it's 15 miles away, and the Gebirgsjäger are going nowhere.
The thing is, this is where the sort of the numbers come into play, right? We've lost Hardy and Hunter, 2 destroyers, right? Bad for the Royal Navy, but the damage they've done to the Germans in the meantime is genuinely catastrophic and shapes the war. When we look ahead to the Sea Lion what ifs, the invasion of Britain what ifs after the fall of France. Here's one of the reasons it can't ever work, is because they've taken such a kicking in terms of their destroyer capability and all those other major ships we were just talking about. 2 destroyers have been sunk, and the Arnim, Thiele and Raeder are severely damaged, and they're no longer seaworthy, even though they're still afloat.
That's really bad. They're no longer, and it's a bit like sort of knocking out a Tiger tank without destroying it. The moment you can't operate it, it's a complete waste of time.
It's complete. Yeah, it's no use to you at all. The Kuna has suffered repeated hits as a flooded magazine, so they've done that to stop it blowing up, haven't they? And the engines of the Ludeman are kaput. So only 3 of that flotilla of 10
all
destroyers,
caused by the damage of 3 smaller destroyers.
It's extraordinary. Only 3 are unscathed, and the Raunfels, which is a supply ship, ran into the 3 retreating destroyers and was blown up as well.
I mean, it was such a massive explosion that debris went as high as 3,000 feet into the sky.
But if your balance sheet favoured the British before this battle, naval balance sheet, then it favours them even more.
And what it means is the German destroyers have gone. The Jan Velum has been sunk as well, I think. And they've got no means of getting out. They've got no fuel. They're running low of ammunition. And the Gebirgsjäger, which have been deposited on onto Narvik, have got no means of resupply.
Yeah. So then there's a pause.
There's a bit of less dash and a bit more dither.
Yeah. There's caution and ponderousness is the word in the notes here. I mean, you'd think you've got momentum at this point, haven't you? If you're the Royal Navy.
So. And yet, they're still trying to wrest the initiative against the Kriegsmarine elsewhere, of course. And at 4 a.m. on the 11th of April, so the day after this attack, 18 swordfish.
Yeah, baby.
They fly off HMS Furious.
Finally.
Now part of Forbes' fleet at sea to attack the Admiral Hipper, which has been spotted at Trondheim the previous evening. So when the swordfish get there, they only find 2 destroyers and they think, well, okay, we haven't got the Hipper, but this is better than nothing. So attack them. But the water is too shallow. And many of the torpedoes hit the bottom in the initial dive. So as you drop the dive, it goes down, and then it has to come back up again onto the surface, and it just hits the bottom and explodes. So the first airborne torpedo attack of the war is a complete dud.
But the first dive bombing attack on shipping has been a success. So, swings and roundabouts for the Fleet Air Arm in this encounter. Well, and that's the case always. It's just the luck of the draw here.
So Gneisenau, Scharnhorst and Hippo are now all heading back to Wilhelmshaven for urgent repairs, but all of them need it. All of them are in trouble.
So that's pretty much German surface fleet cooked.
But there's still the 5 unsunk ships.
That's a great way of thinking about Navy ships. They're just unsunk.
They're not.
They're just unsunk until they're sunk.
That's like the unsunk Kriegsmarine.
The unsunk heroes.
So they've now got
Kriegsmarine.
They've also got a new captain, Captain Eric Bay, our old friend from the Battle of the North Cape.
Oh dear!
Remember that, the Scharnhorst?
Yes. All these terribly fated individuals getting.
He's another one. He's a marked man.
He's a marked man.
And he's not terribly dynamic. It has to be said.
No, but he's taken command of the destroyer force. And the remaining ships are trapped unless he moves them swiftly.
Which he doesn't.
Well, because he has to refuel them.
Yep.
There's one surviving oiler. They've got to fix the damaged ships, get them seaworthy, and then they're going to use bad weather, darkness, and U-boats to sneak out past the British in the Vestfjord and beyond the Oslofjord. And that's the idea, anyway.
Yeah, that's the plan. But it's going to take a little bit of time to fuel them from the one tanker that's there. I said the Jan Velen had been sunk. It hadn't at that point, so it's still there. And although all the ships are refueled and engines repaired, he then suffers a further calamity when the Zenker damages her propellers manoeuvring around the wrecks in Narvik Harbour because it's very congested there now. And I can, when you're there, you can.
Narrow confines.
It's not a big narrow confines. It's not a big place. And the Kölner also suffers debilitating damage while refueling, and makes herself unseaworthy. So she's waiting to be sunk. And it is difficult to manoeuvre within the narrow confines of the port of Narvik. But these are entirely avoidable, it has to be said, and they're completely self-inflicted own goals, born of fatigue, frustration, inexperience, lack of training.
Jitters too. I mean, it's really happening now, isn't it? And everything's difficult.
And the British, meanwhile, are kind of reeling from the rapid German advances through southern Norway and uncertain now which plan to pursue. So they're back from dashing and now dithering again. And there's just a general lack of clear, unified and determined decision-making, which I think which has been undermined because the Admiralty keeps butting in. So it's not until the 13th of April, on the morning of the 13th of April, that the Navy returned to the Oslofjord. And this time with 4 larger tribal class destroyers. And there's 5 further destroyers and the mighty battleship HMS Warspite. A personal favourite, it has to be said, of our producer JR, who's fist pumping.
He's standing to attention right now. he's snapped erect to attention. He's saluting the Grand Old Lady herself.
Yes. And this is all under the command of Admiral Whitworth, who has moved his flag from the Repulse to the Warspite. And why wouldn't you? So the scene is now set for the second sea battle at Narvik. So Captain Bay,
In the left corner.
is Captain Bay with not a lot.
Yeah.
It has to be said. He's only got 2 seaworthy ships, I think.
Oh, cripes.
He knows the Royal Navy are going to come for them. Partly because German cryptanalysts had deciphered British naval codes, but also because it's blindingly obvious they would. So what do? Do you send off your 2 fit ones? That's what I'd have done. Why do you get the chance?
They should get the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah, well, he hasn't.
Live to fight another day.
He tries to deploy the ships as well as possible, but knows the situation is completely hopeless. So there's a sort of Lutyens defeatism.
Oh no.
I think I would lose my ships.
The
My command must be very brief.
The Royal Navy are coming.
But his only real hope is from U-boats, and both U-46 and U-48. This is Tilly Suren and Eric Top. They're lurking in the Oslofjord, and U-47, Gunter Preen, fame. He of the Royal Oak sinking in Scapa Flow the previous October. Yeah. And there's others also, other U-boats in the Vestfjord and at the entrance to the Oslofjord. And the U-boats hate operating here. It's too tight, too little room for manoeuvre. And of course, you have to remember that these U-boats, they're submersibles, not true submarines. So they're primarily about being on the surface. They're a surface vessel, first and foremost. Eric Top is on the U-46. He's not happy.
A submarine is designed to be a commerce raider and requires vast areas of sea space to be effective. Deploying U-boats in Norway's narrow fjords, however, went against all experience and common sense.
He's a great writer. My God, honestly, he writes one of the great letters to ever been written in the war. A little bit later on. Anyway, that's all to come.
So basically, they're easy targets in these sort of waters, and they're not playing. They're not playing to their strengths.
But a bigger problem. Their torpedoes are dis.
Yeah, the stuff's crap.
So U-47, the battleship killer Gunter Preen fires 2 torpedoes at Warspite. They both duds. Then U-47 is nearly sunk in turn by vengeful destroyers. Warspite is attacked 2 more times, but again the torpedoes fail to detonate. And as a result, Warspite is able to sail into the Oslofjord unimpeded.
Here we go.
Which is very bad news for Bay's destroyers. And I would have done anything to witness Warspite sailing down the Oslofjord. It must have been truly, truly magnificent. Okay, so the crippled Kulna has been towed to Tarstadt, which is an inlet just beyond Balingen. And so the idea is for the Kulna to this is to the south. So as they come around, there's a little headland, and it's waiting just behind, out of sight. So as the Warspite and the destroyers come into view, it can fire at point blank range. But unfortunately for the Kulna,
oh no,
yeah,
it's a sad trombone moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Wah, 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 wah. She's only just reached the inlet at Djupvik, so 20 miles west of Narvik, when she's spotted by Warspite swordfish float plane late on the morning of the 13th of April. So as the leading ships Bedouin and Eskimo turn the headland, their guns and torpedoes are trained at the ready. They know where it is, so they've got one up the spout effectively. They're good to go. And Kulna's bow is ripped off by the first torpedo, and the rest of her is sunk shortly after without her firing a thing. So that's 3 of the 10 now at the bottom. So the remaining 7 have barely begun moving before the rest of the British force are bearing down through the mist, frost, and the snow flurries.
I love this, Jim, because the last big naval battle we did with the Bismarck was all this stuff at extreme range and this kind of game of cat and mouse. This is much more like
I think you.
Well, but how you imagine the sort of Nelsonian area where you've got to get close, you get eyes on, you get your guns on, and your broadsides as close as you possibly can.
Must be incredibly thrilling if you're British.
Yes, incredibly thrilling if you're British, and quite
scary.
Let's go for that. Yeah. So as you say, 3 of the 10 are now at the bottom of the fjord. The remaining 7 barely begun to get themselves underway when the Here Come warspite, and it like a sort of pack of wolves coming down the fjord.
around the mother wolf.
Yeah. However, first of all, our favourite aircraft for Second World War, some swordfish. They have to take their bow. Yeah. They've come in from HMS Furious. They swoop down, and their job is to dive bomb the German ships. And I think it's quite interesting that we had a torpedo strike previously. They were rolled in both roles as dive bombers and as torpedo.
But they're not really designed as a.
No, but the airframe has to be able to cope with it, which means they've got folding wings and they're being used as dive bombers. That's how tough and well built the swordfish is. Yeah. But
they're much more effective at flying in low and dropping torpedoes.
Yes. Yeah. And they don't hit anything on this attack either.
No, lose 2.
Yeah.
It's entirely fruitless. Although Eric Topp on U-46, he finds the whole experience very unsettling. He remains on the bridge manning a machine gun, firing madly. But he does see a bomb destroy a shed 50 yards away on the shore.
Only 20 yards away, one of our crew is instantly killed by another bomb, while another man is simply laid flat by the blast.
It's also completely unnecessary.
Oh, come on, no. Any attack involving swordfish is necessary.
Anyway, the German destroyers are still nursing the damage of 4 days earlier. Swiftly fire all their remaining ammunition. Now their stuff, they haven't got any more. They're done. Because their Trojan horses haven't turned up, apart from Jan Velen. Yeah. That's no good. So Bay then orders them to speed away into the narrow Rombaksfjord. And Rombaksfjord is just go north out of Narvik. There's a little headland. There's now a bridge over the mouth of it. And then you turn right, you turn eastwards, and there it is. And these are great big looming mountains coming either side of it. This is exactly when you're thinking of Norwegian fjords. This is what you expect. It narrows to a very, very narrow point with another bridge, and then it goes out into a slightly widened lozenge of the fjord until it kind of that's it. There's nowhere else to go. So the idea is to ram them on the shore, get everyone off. But by going to Rombaksfjord, you are admitting that is that.
So the Kuna is dealt with by Bedouin, tribal class destroy.
But the warspite follows into Rombaksfjord.
I know. That's nuts.
Oh, gosh,
it's nuts, isn't it?
Seen that.
Well, yeah, but you know.
Amazing. But there's no one else there.
Well, and they know it's not mined. You know?
It's not mined. There's no one else there. They haven't got any ammo, and there's no Luftwaffe.
When you put it like that.
Yeah, what's not to like?
And it's interesting, though, because obviously they're going to run them aground, but the Navy want to destroy them. The Navy want the satisfaction of the win, don't they?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. So the Bedouin deals with the Kuna, and the Georg Thiele fires one last torpedo that blows the bow off at the Eskimo. Last moment, how dare they ruin our fun?
Amazing photographs of that.
Yeah, and then the captain runs her aground like the Hardy, while the surviving three, the Zenker, the von Armin, and the Ludemann, they steam to the head of the fjord where they also run themselves aground. Yeah. I mean, it's a feeble end for this flotilla, isn't it?
All 10 gone.
Unbelievable.
All 10.
And their crews escape. They go and join the Gebirgsjäger. That must have been embarrassing, though, being in those ships.
Yeah. Afternoon.
Hanging out with those soldiers. Yeah. Oh, you're going to...
I might need your help.
Eskimo, despite her bow being blown off, remains afloat. And she sails stern first back out of the fjord. Yeah. Gets home. I mean, sails across the North Sea.
Yeah, well, it gets repaired in the mouth of the, I think at Harstad, actually.
Right, okay.
Goes to Harstad, which is around the kind of headland to the north.
But still.
Yeah.
You know.
It's quite a feat.
It's quite a feat. Yeah. She's fixed and she'll end up fighting the Bismarck in May 1941. Yeah. But basically, what's happened here in the waters of Narvik is that the Kriegsmarine they've been routed in that one encounter, but then the battle in general, they've been gutted, haven't they?
Yeah, been completely destroyed. Half their destroyer force is gone. Yeah. Half. It is this is a disaster of which it can't possibly hope to recover, really. But right then, there is now a golden opportunity to send in decisive numbers of Allied troops to fight and defeat the beleaguered German troops.
Brilliant. We'll let the good times roll then, Jim.
Yeah.
This is
southern Norway's gone, but, whatever. The north can be held onto, can't it?
And
crucially, the iron ore railway line and the port lay there for the taking.
Oh, well then, this is great, because at this stage of the war, we need some good news for the Western Allies, right?
Yeah. Anyway, British, French, and French chasseurs alpins. They have very, very cool uniforms, by the way.
We have very cool uniforms.
They have fantastic jackets.
We
And
have
they have monster berets.
Oh, our berets are enormous.
And they have great boots.
Oh, regardez mes boots.
And they've got a pretty mean machine gun, light machine gun.
Ah, mon tirailleur, c'est vraiment
All of
fantastique.
that. Because you know how the sort of poilus do not look cool.
Yeah.
They've got bad helmets and they've got bad trench coats. They just look awful. Not so the chasseurs alpins.
Right.
And Polish troops. And they eventually landed, but they landed in different parts because it's very difficult to land them here. And obviously Narvik is in the hands of the Gebirgsjägers who've got to land themselves elsewhere. Not least Harstadt, because they don't really have any landing craft. There's a few beaches. Geographical remoteness and weather made the difficult task pretty hard. But they do. And they take them, and the Gebirgsjäger are all but defeated. But in early June, the Allies have the opportunity to finish the job. But by that time, France is all but defeated. And this is just an effort that they don't need. So they recall them. We'll go into that another time.
Just got my hopes up there.
No, we're going to another time. Well, they do beat the Gebirgsjäger, but they don't finish it off because they can't. And then meanwhile, on the ground and in the air, I'm afraid Norway's a calamity for the Allies. So after the initial sweeping successes of the Germans, a revised plan is hastily put in place. So in addition to landing troops at Narvik, landings are also made at Namsos and Andalsnes, which is either side of Trondheim. So the idea is to kind of pinch out Trondheim. The idea is that while southern Norway might have gone, northern Norway could be held as a kind of sort of redoubt.
Yeah.
But it's a total cock-up. Troops are lightly armed, undertrained. They're mostly TA battalions. Ammo and weaponry concentrated on ships, which means a number of them are sunk on the way. So suddenly, battalions of infantry are arriving without their trucks, without their artillery. It's like schoolboy era. And there's also, of course, there's a lack of air support because distances are too far. There's a lack of airfields. The only chance really of any success was Narvik, which they nearly pull off until France gets defeated.
Yeah. But the British get to do some evacuations, and we like that. We're good at that. At this stage of the war, what are the ramifications then of this encounter? Because we have been saying throughout this series that it's enormously consequential for the course of the naval war.
In terms of actual losses, not damage. 50% of the destroyer fleet, 50% of heavy cruisers, 2 of 6 light cruisers, and 6 U-boats are all lost. And then literally all the major ships are hit.
All of which they can ill afford. If what they're going to do is have this surface fleet, Admiral Raeder's surface fleet, successfully marauding in the Atlantic, that's what the plan was. That plan's over. It's gone. So the double pole strategy of a heavy hitting fleet and some
those 9,000 ton cruisers is what it is. And actually, if you think it fast forward to the back end of 1941, Force K in the Mediterranean, Penelope and the Aurora, isn't it? Who were at Norway with 4 destroyers or 2 destroyers, and they caused absolute havoc. Yeah. That's what you need.
Yeah. And in the meantime, the other thing that's come out of this is the U-boats, which of course had to step down in the Atlantic.
3 months are out.
Yeah. At a time where they would have been able to be incredibly effective.
Because they wouldn't have had any escorts.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the convoys wouldn't have had any escorts.
They've not hit anything in that intervening time because there's a problem with the torpedoes. So they've discovered that at least, but they're not in the Atlantic. They're in the Norwegian waters. They're not fulfilling their actual role. This is a recurring theme in the history of the Second World War, and Hitler's strategic understanding, is how important Norway is, how important it becomes. And the Allies fathomed this out pretty quickly and played to it. And an enormous part of the sort of later in the war, the deception effort that goes into tying up German troops and assets and stuff.
Oh my God! And also, you just look at the maps of all the gun positions that were all along the Norwegian coast. It's such a tie for the Germans. It's a tie they can't afford.
Yeah. And every one of those gun emplacements is one you could have built on the French coast. Every single one.
Yeah.
That they haven't built on the French coast, they built on the Norwegian coast. Yeah. And when we went to Normandy and we stood those battery positions, and you realise how inadequate they are actually. If you're going to take on a serious Allied fleet, you need lots and lots of positions, and they're all in Norway.
So the lessons for the Royal Navy, meanwhile, are the vulnerability of warships to air attacks, which they're already kind of sort of aware of, but it really sort of underlines it. Less so the big capital ships, but destroyers and light cruisers. So the Luftwaffe sink 1 cruiser, 6 destroyers, 21 merchant vessels. And the other vulnerability is the insecurity of British naval signals. So the big blunder was their loose signalling during the Spanish Civil War, which preceded all this, of course, and which gave the Beobachtungsdienst, the B-Dienst, the cryptanalysts, a head start. So for much of the Norwegian campaign, too many Royal Navy signals are being intercepted, which are not good.
Yeah, and the Germans remain very much on top of Navy signalling for 2-3 more years as well.
And I think the final lesson is not to get dopey, because HMS Glorious is sunk on the 8th of June while returning home across the North Sea. It's the last loss of the Royal Navy and for the Norwegian campaign, but it's a really bad one because Glorious is an aircraft carrier.
It's a carrier with loads of Hurricanes on board.
But there's no getting away from it. On sea, the Royal Navy best the Kriegsmarine. And it's a very, very consequential victory.
I mean, if you're the Kriegsmarine, you've got lots to fear. You know they're going to come for you even when they're outnumbered. Yeah. You know they're going to commit. They're going to fight. They're going to fight ferociously.
And the amazing thing is when you go to the Oslofjord and you can see where the Blücher was, and there's bits of the Blücher still there on the side of the fjord, and it's just insane. Yeah. And then you go up to Narvik, and in the harbour of Narvik, there's one of the merchant vessels that was sunk. You can still see it popping up, just a little bit of rusty metal sticking out of the water. And then you can go and see the remains of the Georg Thiele, which is the one halfway down the Rombaksfjord, which is the one that fires off the bow of Eskimo before it rams onto the shore. And there it is upside down, and you can see the scarring across the bottom of the hull where it ran ashore, and it's amazing. You can only get there. There's a footpath that there's a road. The road pieces out into a track, and the track pieces out into a path, and eventually you get to some kind of, I don't know, hydroelectric thing, covered in, surrounded by wire, and there's a stream running down the side of it, and you've got to scrabble over some rocks, and then you can sort of get beyond towards the kind of wooded slopes of the southern side of the Rombaksfjord, and you can just see the kind of rusty metal. And when I went there with Daisy in March, we kind of said, well, it's a bit stupid, isn't it, going along here? Snow on the ground, a bit slippery. But we come this far, got to do it. So we picked our way across the stones and through the trees and slid down stones and over the snow and everything, and got to the Georg Thiele, and there it was, this big rusting hulk of the hull sticking out of the water.
Amazing.
It was absolutely amazing. And there it was. You just couldn't believe it after all this time. There it was. It's incredibly atmospheric. You could really see it. And then you could go on this railway and look down on the Rombaksfjord and see where the other last 3 were beached. They all got salvaged. Yeah. So they're not there anymore.
Would you say, Jim, do you think this is the most decisive naval encounter of the Second World War?
It's got to be one of the most consequential, isn't it? Certainly the European War. If it's it's just because U-boats aren't there in the Atlantic. That's such a gimme to the.
But also,
and also the hammering of the Kriegsmarine. It just leaves their whole strategy in tatters.
Well, yes, but then also their ability to improvise. Let's say they commit to Sea Lion. They don't have the ships. I mean, I know they haven't got the landing craft. Everyone knows that they're going to have to use
but they haven't
Rhine
got
barges.
Ships, have they?
They haven't. No, I don't think they would have had anyway had this battle not happened, for instance, or had it turned out differently and they'd not taken such heavy losses, because they've still got they'd still have basically the whole of the Royal Navy would have turned up to deal with an invasion from the other side of the planet. Everything would have shown up to defend Britain in that instance. So even then, the Kriegsmarine would have not been effective. But they really, really, really would not have been capable of pulling off anything that was being spitballed that summer. So in that sense, this is an incredibly decisive battle, because had the threat of invasion been more credible, the politics in Britain might have been quite different. Because that's always the thing. There's this.
It's sort of like lurking, nagging thing, isn't it?
The politics of resisting. Because if the political will wasn't there to resist, who knows? If the balance sheet had been different.
That's interesting stuff. Anyway, we should leave this series with Warburton-Lee, because he becomes the first VC winner of the war.
He does.
There he is, buried in the little cemetery at Balingen with some of the other losses. I went and visited his grave. Excellent. On a kind of slightly rain-sodden morning, sat there in the damp. It was amazing.
Well, thanks, Jim. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this series about the most decisive naval encounter of the Second World War. I'm going with it.
You're going with it? You're running with it?
Yeah, I'm running with it.
I can't have a problem with that.
Yeah, okay, good.
I've got a book to write.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you again very, very soon. Cheerio.
Cheerio.